Happy Monday, y'all. I wanted to hop on. I'm probably not gonna be on here super long, but I'm trying to get myself back in the rhythm of hopping on live and talking about some of the messages I'm getting and things like that. So I kind of just want to, while I have the energy, keep hey Tay Talk. I kind of want to, while I have the energy, just kind of keep the momentum going. Um, I finished the book. I don't know if y'all was on my live when I was talking about the book these last couple of days about the galvanization of the goddess and stuff like that. I know a lot of you had purchased this book too, which is Earth, the Pleiadian Key. Um, I finished the book and I don't know, I kind of have like thoughts, like I feel like, as I got to the end of the book and I was like looking at some of the things that they were talking about, it's like, yes, like I feel like this is a different perspective of life, and that the person who read this book was just trying to present that we have other options for what our reality could actually look like. But I don't know, like by the end of this book, with all the stuff that they was talking about, the mixing of the menses with the I don't know. I'm starting to feel like these might be the sex demons we talking about. So I don't know. I'm kind of like cautious, but the reason why I think I'm being cautious is because like the Pleiadians are something like, or a group of beings that they have allowed us to know about. So my question is why? Why would they allow us to know about the Pleiadians this whole time? So there's a part of me in the back of my head that's like, okay, this is another option. This is another truth, because I do think that there's multiple things going on at one time. Like a lot of the stories that are being told, some of them are like the same story. And like, I don't know, but I just, by the end of this book, I was just like, okay, like I understand the reason why this was written. I understand the reason why I needed to find this right now, but I also think that there's a certain level of discernment I need to have as well, because when they got into the part of the book where they was talking about sex and how when you have sex with a partner that you're actually in love with, like you create this energy and it allows goddess or God energy to merge with you while you're having sex and experience the sex through you. I don't know if y'all have ever read the book Zodiac Academy. It's like a series of like fantasy books, but they kind of hit on that in that book. And so I think I have a lot vast, information about this. So it's like, yeah, I know that that's a possibility, but then I think about shows where I think it was American Gods, where you come into the show and it's like sex demons having sex and all this other stuff. Like, I don't know why that came into my purview. So I don't know 100% if where I am with this information, but I also feel like I don't need to figure it out right now. So it's just kind of one of those things, like where I was telling y'all last time that I'll like read something and then years later it'll come up. Like I feel like this book is like one of those things, like I'm gonna just tuck it back into the back of my mind and just see if there's some truth to it through what I'm experiencing and stuff like that. So I ended up finishing it and I feel like it really was a good read. Like it was what I needed at that moment. It gave me a lot of confirmation on some of the things that I believe, but then it just got a little intense towards the end. So I don't know where I am 100% with this book, but at the same time, I understand what its purpose was in my life. So that was interesting. And I enjoyed it. So I don't know. I know last time I was on here was a lot of people who were saying that they wanted to read that book. So let me know what y'all think about it too once y'all done with it, because I think a little bit of my skepticism popped in towards the end, but also I also got to understand that, like when you're getting a lot of information and it completely goes against who you've identified yourself to be, sometimes it can be hard for you to process, and so I'm trying to give myself time to process that as well. You'll definitely come across the information again in other places. Anyways, so I wanted to hop on today because we hadn't spent any time going over some of the channel messages that I have. But I also feel like the message that I've been getting in these last couple of weeks is that we really do need to look at how patriarchy makes us compete against each other, because I think there have been so many situations in my life where I feel like people have been competing with me, but I've not been competing with them because I'm not a competitive person in a way where I'm measuring myself and my success based off of other people. I think I spent a lot of my life in survival mode, because we were like, the school that I ended up going to in high school was a school that I was not supposed to be going to, meaning like we used somebody else's address. So when I would go to school, I'm kind of going to like a PWI, like a public white institution, right? But then I get home and I'm in a completely different environment. So I always kind of felt split between two worlds. And so my only goal in high school was to get out of the hood. Like that was my only fucking goal. And so the thing that I wanted to do, or where my focus was always on getting a scholarship, right? And so I tried to do that through academics, and I tried to do that through sports. I ended up on the track team. In the track team, I was one of the fastest girls. But one day, the coach was like, "Hey, anybody who's tall and who's big needs to go to the throws ring," because they didn't have anybody to do throws events. And so I think at that time in high school, it's only shot put and discus. And so I ended up doing discus, and I was number one in the state. I broke my school record. It was like this big thing. And so I ended up in a situation where I was at state, and I'm number one in the state, number one ranked, but none of the coaches know who I am because my team didn't do a good job promoting me, to be honest. And so I ended up going to a D1 school. I walked on to the D1 school because I was going to end up going there anyways for what I wanted to do for school. And a coach offered me a scholarship, and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, I have an academic scholarship." Like I really was trying to figure out how I was going to pay for year 2, 3, and 4 because I already had year 1 covered. And so I was like, okay, I can do track in college, right? And so I start like competing and practicing with the coach over the summertime, and they pay for my books the first year. And then I actually scored at Junior Olympics my first year when I was redshirted. I was the only person or only freshman to do this, right? And so after that, they paid for the rest of my school. And so for the next 2 years, I'm just competing. I end up, I think I was 7th in the nation, and I didn't break my school record in college. I was number 2. To be honest, whoever was number 1, she got that at a time where they could use steroids. And so, bitch, I knew I wasn't touching that. Like, I knew I wasn't touching that girl's record because she was built up like a motherfucking silverback gorilla, and that just not me. That just wasn't me, And so I ended up in a situation in college, though, and also in high school, where I felt like people would be competing with me and I'm not competing with them, and I feel like I just was naturally good at it because I used to dance, and I'm 6 foot, like I'm an athlete. I've been an athlete my whole life, so I ended up in college, and we had throws. Like how track works is like, yeah, y'all are on the same team and y'all practice together, but y'all are individuals when y'all go to compete, right? Even though it adds to the team overall score, you're still an individual. So track is not a sport to where you can compete. You're really competing with other people in that way, right? But I get to college and it's a whole nother ballgame because I think that, people in college are trying to go to the Olympics, right? I don't give a fuck about that because I'm only trying to pay the fucking bills. As long as the check clear, I don't give a fuck. Like I'm only trying to pay the other bills. And so I ended up in a dynamic where I felt like there was like certain people on my team who would get upset with me because I didn't take it as seriously as them. But I also think that that's why I was good as well, right? And so I never really understood that because I feel like one, we don't even have the same what I do in my sport on my side does not actually impact anybody in their sport on their side, not when it comes to track. So it was just like weird to be in this dynamic where I kept getting into it with my teammates because they felt like I wasn't taking it serious, and they mad because they not as good as me and I don't care as much as they care, So it was this weird thing, right? I get out into the real world, and I start working at, I worked for an insurance company for a long time. Within 5 months, I'm promoted to supervisor. And so I start going through supervisor training and stuff like that. And I start just getting these snarky remarks from people who used to be on my team. And it just was like weird to me. And I also had a lot of people on, when I was supervisor, I was number 1 supervisor for 3 months in a row. And I had people on my team who was younger than me. Older than me. People who are 60, people who are 50, people who are 40. And I would get a whole bunch of the older people just mad at me for me being in a further along position than they were because they felt like, well, I'm 30 and you're 23. Who are you to tell me something? Weird fucking shit, right? And so I'm like, okay, I go on to another, I not even finish that job. I go to Florida with that same job. And it's a lot more racist in Florida. I'm not even gonna lie. The racism is at your front door. There's no way for you to avoid it, to the point where they even know certain people in the company are racist, and the black managers will straight up tell you, "Oh, it's this person because this person is that you have." Yeah, she has a history of documented racism and da da da. And it's bro, why haven't y'all done no shit about this shit, right? So, anyways, In the work field, I feel like there has been a lot of specific competition within women for me. Because I think that the patriarchy, the capitalism, hierarchy, all of that tells women that there's only one spot at the table for them. Because again, patriarchy, when it was created, it was only men, right? And so when the women's right movement came along, they had to hire women, like kind of like they had to hire people for DEI, they had to hire women for the same reason, right? And so there wasn't always hiring women or having space for women. So women felt like if it was two women in the company, they need to compete against each other for a spot, right? And I feel like that is just what I ended up dealing with like throughout my career, right? So I end up at this other company, and it's me and only one other Black girl. We end up being on the same team, but we don't have to compete with each other because she handled like A through M and I handle like M through Z. So it was like, yes, we on the same team, but her clients are not my clients. She can't book anybody from my clients. I can't book anybody from her clients. So there's no reason for us to compete, right? We go on a company trip. And this is my first company trip. We going to fucking New Orleans. So I'm about to get drunk. I'm about to go get me some motherfucking bombs, whatever you call them, little green drink. Like I'm about to go have a time, right? And it's fully open bar because it's a company retreat. Like they pay for everything. And so we get so on our way to the company thing, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning when they booked the flight. They booked the flight for 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay. If anybody who know me know I ain't no motherfucking morning person. So I was just, by the time we got there, we went through all the meetings and it was time for us to kind of go home or go to the bars. I was tired, so I went to sleep. And so I come back the next day. I come down the next day, and this girl kind of corners me, and she was like, "Hey, Tadra, like, I just want to let you know that this person was talking about you when you were asleep last night." And I was like, "Who?" And then they told me, it was like, "Oh, she was pulling up your social media and like saying like you must be a hoe the way you dress and da da da." And I'm just like, "What?" It's the only other Black woman there. And so I'm like, she telling me this, and anybody who know me, I don't have a poker face. I likely will smack the fuck out of you just off of principle, especially back then. And so I'm walking, right? I'm walking, and I see the girl, and she was like, "Hey, Taja," I bumped the shit out of her because, ooh, sometimes I cannot control my anger. And so I bumped the shit out of her, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And I walked straight up to the person and who was our manager, and I was like, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And she was like, "Okay, well, we can talk after the meeting." I'm like, "Okay." I step out. Anyways, I step out and I call my mama because my mama is probably the only person who could get me to calm down when I'm pissed off. Because my thing is, bitch, we the only two Black people in here. Why the fuck? Why the fuck would you get around? And mind you, she had been at the company for like 5 years. And so I feel like she had become buddy with them. And she did not want anybody to be friends with me. Like, and my thing is, I hate when people try to tell people who I am before they even get a chance to meet me. That pisses me off so fucking bad because you don't even know me. But the thing about it that I think made it even worse is that, yeah, I'm a Taurus. The thing about it that made it even worse is me and her was going to get our lunch together. We was getting our nails done together. We was like, I thought we was cool. And she was older than me by like 10 years. So I'm thinking like, oh, big sister, little sister type of dynamic. And then we get to the motherfucking company trip, you get around these white motherfuckers, and all of a sudden I'm the butt of your motherfucking joke when I'm not even in the room, you know? And so it ended up being a situation where the manager called us both in the room, and I told the manager that I did want to have a conversation, but I wanted her to be there because I had been in situations before where I would just say something to the person and then they go back and lie on me and be like, "Oh, Taja, this one girl said I stumped off and cussed her out one time when all I did was look at her, and she gonna say, look at me when I'm talking to you." I looked at that bitch like, "Bitch, I'll knock your mother." And I said, "You know what? All right." And I turn around and I walk away. She goes downstairs and tells her dad and the other boss that I cussed her out and stumped off when I didn't say nothing to her. You know, so I'm like, okay, I learned from my mistakes. I have my manager sitting on the thing, and I'm telling her, "Hey, this is what happened, whatever." And the girl's like, "Oh, no, that didn't happen." And da da da. And I was like, "Okay, so why did you just text this person to try to figure out who told on you?" And then she looked like she saw a motherfucking ghost. "Yes, they're still telling me that you was talking about me because everybody who you was talking about fucked with me." And so they came back and was like, "Hey, Taja, like she's talking shit about you, da da da." Even the one that you think is your best friend is the one that's telling all the shit, you know? And so she got a rude awakening that day, whatever. In these last couple of years, I've been doing like building a spiritual platform or whatever. And in the process of me building this spiritual platform, I've had multiple people throw magic at me. multiple people. Okay. All right. Let me slow down real quick. Recently, well, actually before this point, right? With the girl. So basically with the girl who it was me and her only, I had went to the boss or whatever, and the boss basically like we was in a hotel room, and so we was basically talking it out or whatever. And we get back home, and she was like, hey, the boss calls me into the office, and she was like, hey, I need to talk to you. And I was like, why? And she was like, well, I feel like the office is really quiet. I feel like you and this other person used to be really close, and now you guys aren't talking, and I don't want it to affect the team. And I was like, well, I didn't do anything to her, and so you're not about to force me into talking to anybody that does not like me. And she was like, yeah, but I think it was a misunderstanding, and she apologized. I don't give a fuck if she apologized. If the moment that I figure out there's some weird shit going on, I will never talk to you again. I don't care. Like it was never, I'm not pressed for friends or anything. I'll just spend my whole life alone, baby. It's nothing. And so she tried to tell me, like, basically that I needed to have dinner with her. And she was like, hey, I want you guys to have dinner. And I was like, no, I don't think there's nothing else for me to say about this. I've already said my piece. It is what it is. And she kept trying to like push me into it. And she was like, well, she's not going anywhere. She's been here for 5 years and she's one of our top salespeople. And I was like, okay, cool. Stand on that. And so literally a week later, I resigned. And she was like, oh, I'm so confused, Taja. Like, because I made them over $600,000 in me only being there for 6 months. For 6 months. And so she was like, oh no, like, I feel like you're blowing this out of proportion because in my resignation letter, they ask, why are you resigning? I don't ever miss that opportunity. That for me is like winning the championship. Okay. I'm about to tell y'all all the shit that y'all done did that had me fucked up. I even keep folders on people. Every time you got smart with me through an email, every time that shit is in a documented folder. I can't wait for y'all to fire me or me to walk out because I'm turning over all that shit. I want y'all to know exactly why the fuck I'm leaving this shit. Right. And so I wrote in the letter that I feel like she picked a side, which she did. She picked a side. She was like, well, she's been here for 5 years, so she's not going nowhere. What the fuck does that have to do with me and her getting along? You just wanted me to know that you wasn't going to do anything about it. HR wise, because HR got involved with that. And they called me on the phone. We had a conversation. They called her on the phone. I don't know what the consequences or anything were about that, but she kept trying to get me to have dinner with her. And I said no. And then she was just like, well, she's not going anywhere. Okay, bitch. Cool. I will. Now what? Now you back in it. And the thing about that job is that they had like multiple people in and out of that spot for like 4 years. And they were trying to get somebody who's going to be there long term. I was going to be there as long as I could. But since you want to be funny, I'm funnier. I'm hilarious. And I've been like that my whole life. Even with the track, the thing about the track team, I quit my senior year and they tried to like take my scholarship, but they couldn't do that because of the reason why I quit was they were trying to be funny. I'm funnier. And so I only end up having to pay for like my last semester, but I've walked away from a lot of things because it's never that serious for me. There is nothing that ever moves me enough for me to collapse on my boundaries or for me to, whatever. So recently, or I would say when I started my journey, I had went and got help from a lot of different spiritual people on this app. And like one of the people who come to find out now, I guess like a lot of people talk about her scamming people or whatever. At the time, I didn't know that. I just saw one of these other creators that I really liked, like promoting her. So I'm like, okay, let me just go over there, whatever. She took a long time to get back to me. I really didn't think she was going to ever get back to me, to be honest. I had sent another client over to her or whatever, and she was not getting back to them. It was a situation where we had to do like a follow-up call, and I get on the follow-up call for her after she gives me the divination. And in the divination, it was a lot of fear mongering. It was like, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen. If you don't do that, then like you have a negative odoo. So like people in your family will start dying. And I get the reading from a girl, right? I get the reading from a girl. And the person who's giving me a reading is a man. And I was confused by that too, or whatever. So we get on the call and she's like, oh, do you have questions? Whatever. And so I didn't ask you for that. Don't make me block you. Okay. Anyways, she gets on the thing and I'm asking her like, what's this is what I was concerned about. Like, why did they say this? And she started getting smart with me. And I'm like, I'm allowed to have questions about spiritual information that you're giving me, you know. But I feel like she's so used to people just like donning and doting off over her that anybody giving her any type of questions or pushback or what, thank you, Jayla, or any of that, it's just like, no, like you need to just listen to me and just go with the fucking flow. I'm not a go with the flow type of bitch. Okay. If you say something, if you don't do this and you don't get this done, then people in your family are going to die, bitch. I have a right to ask you questions about that. Right. And so I realized that she was just somebody operating from her ego. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. I move on. It is what it is. Right. I don't have time either. And I don't even, anyways. But anyways, so that was weird. And so I went to other spiritualists or whatever, and I went to this one who ended up like teaching me or whatever. Like she had a class or something she invited me into. But I found out later that, which I don't even gonna say that I found out later, because I was having dreams about it. Like I was literally having dreams of her stuffing stuff down my throat and like my team coming and pulling it back out. But me and her never had a problem until she found out I had a platform. When she found out I had a platform, shit hit the fucking fan. Like she started stalking me on fucking social media. She started going through my comments and replying to people to answer questions that they had for me. She's replying with full ass fucking videos. Like it just was a whole fucking thing. And she was trying to do magic on me to shut me up. And I could hear her in my head talking. I could hear her telling me that I talk too much, telling me to shut up, all of this other thing, because she did not know how to platform. She's used to people who she feels like are under her, right? She finds out I have a platform because she told me she was struggling to get people into her class. So I made a video for her, and that video did 500,000 followers. And then she started asking me like, well, what do you do for work? And I was like, nothing. I work for myself. I do this full time. And she's like, oh, well, I don't make any money. And I was like, okay, do you want me to make a video for you? Do you want me to help you? Because my thing is, there's enough space for all of us, you know, like I learn from you, you learn from me. And I also paid great reverence to her, because if it was not for her class, I would not have learned how to trust my gifts and trust myself, you know? And so I'm thinking, you're another Black woman. I'm a Black woman. Like, why don't I help you? No, the bitch started doing magic on me. She blocked me on everything out of no, because she asked me to join her like psychic. She has a group of psychics. But to be honest, they was mean girls and they was talking shit about me, and spirit played the conversation in my ear. So I told her no. She wanted me to build out her whole esoteric side of things and like basically to pull in my following into her shit. No, absolutely the fuck not. And I caught on to that shit. I took a meeting with her because she the other two girls that I knew was talking shit, like I knew they was all on this meeting. And so I went to the meeting, and my spirit team started playing it in my ear what they were saying about me. That's all I needed to know. I just needed confirmation. I was there for a side quest. I was trying to see what you bitches were saying about me, you know, like. And so once I got that, I was like, nope, you know, and I was still nice about it. I was still polite because I'm not a rude ass bitch. And I also feel like, you know, I think I am a hard person to be in community with sometimes. And the reason why I feel like that is because I'm ever changing. I'm ever growing. I've had multiple businesses. I've always worked for myself. I've always figured things out. I've always been a person who goes about life in a way that I feel like most people don't. I don't give a fuck about quitting a job. I don't care about none of that. Like, I'm going where the money is. That's how I've always been. And I feel like for some people that could be hard for them because they have to work a lot harder than me. But I think it'd be their belief systems. It'd be their own inadequacy. And because I don't compare myself to other people, I have never had a fucking reason to compare myself to another motherfucker, because I don't care what other people. I'm so stressed and trying to figure my shit out. I'm so fully present in my reality. I don't have time to look at what the fuck you got going on over there. It has nothing to do with me. Right. And so yeah. And so I feel like sometimes it's hard for people to be in community with me because they spend too much time competing with me. Stop trying to compete with me, and we wouldn't have an issue. Like, I don't think I would have any issues in a lot of relationships if you were not trying to compete with me, because I don't see it as a competition. And I'm the type of person too, that if I'm doing something, every business I done had, I done pulled a friend into, I done helped them make extra money. Like, that's the type of person I am, you know? And so I don't have time for other people's shit. And so last week, I get hit with some magic, right? And I talked to y'all about this or whatever, and I was saying, like, I thought that my team hit them first. I now don't think that was the case, because I seen videos of other creators who was talking about being hit by magic, and like people sending magic their way and been sending magic their way because they're trying to be the number one spiritualist on this app. And my thing is, and I already know who the person is because I was doing a spell when they tried to hit me. And so it was very clear who the person was, you know? And my thing is, if you're going to get to this place in your journey where you've amassed this huge following and that you got people rallying around you, like you're absolutely talented, because you don't get that much following without being talented, without having some shit to say. You know what I'm saying? Why would you then weaponize the coven and the shit that you're making against other Black women? Me, I cannot fathom that. I cannot fathom that. And that's why I feel like we need to unpack patriarchy and capitalism and what it makes Black women do to each other. Because we think that there's only one spot. And so we're sending magic at each other when we could gang up and hit the motherfucking oppressors. Why the fuck would we be hitting each other? And I think maybe that's an age thing. I'm 34 years old. I know I look like one of the young girls, but I'm not one of the young girls. And so I don't understand why you would be taking all your fucking talent and you choose to create chaos. You know, you choose to create chaos. That's crazy to me. You know, and I'm not even against chaos, because I think you got to work with your left and your right hand. Like, you cannot be all love and light. That is just not how the spiritual world works. You need light and you need dark. If you push against the dark, you're pushing against the feminine. The feminine is infinite. She contains everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, you got to use your left and right hand. You know, but the way that you choose to do that, I think is important. To weaponize your coven against other Black women, that is fucking insane to me. That would never even cross my fucking mind. That would never even cross my fucking mind. That's ego. That's ego. And that's why I feel like there's so many spiritualists who will use spirituality as a mask, right? For your ego. You like knowing something that you feel like other people don't know. You like being a part of a closed practice because not everybody can get in. It makes you feel special. And you don't realize that that's the shit that's feeding your fucking ego. That's why you got to let that shit go. And that's why I also feel like I love that I was not indoctrinated into Christianity and into patriarchy in the same way that people are. Because if you don't look closely, if you don't pay attention to that motherfucking ego, you end up perpetuating the same shit, just in a different font, just in a different form. You know, and you don't realize that that shit is patriarchy. Hierarchy is patriarchy. If you want to be the best, that whole survival of the fittest, that whole if you're not first, you're last, that's patriarchy. That's competition. That's the lowest state of consciousness you could be in. And then you lead in a whole nother group of people. And some people don't believe in cause and effect, but cause and effect is a real thing. The principle of cause and effect is where karma comes from. People think that they don't have no type of karma. Whatever you send out is coming back to you one way or another. It might not come today. You might be able to hold that shit off until tomorrow, but that shit is coming. And so you're creating karma for yourself. You're creating karma for other people. Why would we be doing that? Why would we be doing that? That shit pisses me off, because I would never think to harm another Black woman just because I want to be seen as. And it's not even that you are. You don't care about being the thing. You care more about being seen as the thing. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. You know, and that's why when you are visible online, you need to be doing your protection. You need to be taking care of yourself. You need to be making sure all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, because you're going to get a whole bunch of people who don't fucking know you, who are going to wish bad on you just because they can see your light, just because you're magnetic, just because you have something that they can't do. And I think a lot of times with spiritual girls, it's genuine. It's my genuineness. You know, I do this shit because I lived a life that I felt like was really fucking intense and really painful. And I don't want other people to have to experience that, especially those of us who don't have elders. We don't have ancestors. We don't have people who went first who can teach us the motherfucking game. And so if I learn that game and I can pass that on to somebody else who is struggling, who does not have support in the way that I didn't have support, that's why I do this shit. And I understand that part of that is savior complex. I understand that. But I think that the people that I impact are worth that motherfucking risk for me. They're worth that. Everybody is worth that. I can't teach people the shit that I can't teach people how to be like me, because I don't even understand why I love people the way that I love people. It is ingrained in me. There is nothing I can do to stop giving a fuck about other people that I don't know. It's nothing I can do to stop caring about other people. There's nothing I can do to stop that shit. And so anything that I do is going to have that in that. You know, anything that I do, you're going to be able to feel that in that, because I'm coming from a genuine place, and people get mad at me for that shit. People throw magic at me for that shit. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. So I'm saying this because I feel like so many people like is hitting that shit, and some, like there's other spiritualists that are talking about this, because I wasn't the only person who got hit with some shit, but it's just like we shouldn't be staying silent about this shit. Like that is some bogus ass, petty ass, childish ass, little girl ass shit. Like that's some little girl ass shit. And I hate, oh my gosh, I hate that people think like that. Because we finally at a place in history where Earth can actually support the work that we fucking do. We're finally at a place where we can make actual fucking change. And instead of taking that energy that you have for other women and placing that towards the actual fucking threat, we are using it to be divisive, to separate from each other. Why? Why? It's sad and it's disheartening and it's heartbreaking. Like I feel like I realize over and over again how much harder it is for people with integrity. And it's like I choose integrity all the fucking time. Like I choose integrity all the fucking time. But sometimes it's hard because sometimes I don't want to take the high road. Sometimes I feel like if you keep fucking with me, I'm gonna get the fucking with you. And I hate feeling like I gotta be in that energy, because I don't like being in that energy. But at the same time, I'm not no motherfucking hoe, and I'm not no punk, and you're not about to keep sending shit in my direction, because I don't play like that. And so we gotta, if we're gonna unpack patriarchy, we're gonna unpack Christianity, we need to unpack the effects of that shit too. Because some of us is out here really trying to do the work. Like some of us is out here really trying to help other people, help ourselves, whatever it is. I see a future where we can live in harmony, where we don't have to be competing against each other, when we can trust our magnetism, where we can trade and borrow, when we can make all these micro communities. If I could see it, that shit exists. If I could see it, that shit exists. But so many people are using spirituality as a mask for their fucking ego, and they're spiritual bypassing and not doing the fucking work. That pisses me off. It pisses me off. And the very fact that you would send some shit in my direction after all the fucking work that I've done to get myself to be where I am right now, like that does something to me. My hands start itching. My ears get hot. And I start feeling like old school Tadra who's knocking people's teeth down their fucking throat. I don't want to be that person. So why can't y'all just keep y'all shit to yourself? I had to say that because I feel like we do not talk about that shit enough. The cause and effect of patriarchy on Black women. Why do we always fight each other? Why do we always gatekeep from each other? And we think that we forget who the fuck we supposed to be gatekeeping from. But we choose to do that shit to each other because we think that there's only one spot. Why? Why are we not, with our Black privilege, why are we not creating more spots then? I seen this video of this lady who was sitting in first class, and it was a young girl who was like maybe 6 or 7, and she's like, oh my gosh, like, what do you do? And da-da-da. So the girl switched seats with the little girl so the little girl could have the first class experience. That's the type of bitch I am. Why the fuck are we not doing that? Because we could create our own shit. We could create our own space. But we choosing not to do. We choosing to fight each other for a spot that some of us don't even fucking want. I could give a fuck about being the #1 spiritualist on this app. I could give a fuck about that shit. It has nothing to do with me. Because I'm not competing with anybody, because I know my worth. If you are competing with people, it's because you don't know your worth. It's because you're trying to prove your worth. You're trying to convince someone of your worth. You're trying to force yourself into the #1 spot because you feel inadequate. Deal with that shit so that you can stop harming other people in the process of you trying to climb a proverbial ladder that don't fucking exist. The ladder is the distraction. It's trying to keep you distracted because you're reaching for something. It's disappointing. It's heartbreaking. And there's so many ways that we compete with each other as women that we don't even realize is us competing. Yeah. It's okay though. People who doing that shit, you are going to fall. You are going to fall. But it's just annoying. It's not annoying for me because I need the experience anyway. I just don't expect that it's gonna come from my fucking people. That's the part that's heartbreaking. I need the experience any fucking way because I need to know where my blind spots are. But to have that shit come from my people, to come from people that I respect, people who I used to get advice from, that shit, that does something to my spirit. That shit does something to my spirit. Anyways, let's talk about some of the messages I've been getting. Because I now believe that I told y'all this, that I don't know how I feel about this book, to be honest. Like I genuinely feel like I don't know. Hey Brianna. I genuinely feel like I don't know. Like I think a lot of this information was great. I think a lot of this information was beautiful. I think that I learned a lot from this book, but I don't know if on certain things I'm actually convinced. Like I feel like, like why would they let us, like we've been talking about the Pleiadians for years. Why would they let us talk about them? Like something don't feel right about that. And then in this book, when you get to the part where they talking about like sexuality or whatever, and they talk about, when you reach peak or a peak orgasm, like you can basically embody goddess or God energy or whatever, which I believe that part. And let me tell you why, because I had did some chanting after reading this book because they talk about like us merging with God and goddess energy because we're basically like library cards to the living library that is Earth. Everybody's memory is on Earth, but because they've been disconnected from us, they've disconnected from their memory and they need information to advance in the future. And that's why a lot of beings are helping us right now or need us right now because they can actually come into our body and view the living library or get information through us, right? They can actually see through our eyes. Now, I know that to be true because in these last couple of months, I started seeing entities in people's eyes. Sometimes this will be your eye, and then this will be like a golden color, or like this will be like a smoky gray blue color. And I thought I was tripping for a while until I seen it over and over and over again. And I'm just like, yeah, this is you, but what the fuck is that? What the fuck is in your eye? And it's something else because like sometimes the eye just looks like it's not a human eye, and it's like you could see it, right? And so it's like, I know that spirits can enter our body and spirits can look through us. And so it's not far-fetched for me to believe that we are the key to people gaining the knowledge or other species and beings gaining the knowledge. And that's why they need to be in community with us, because that makes sense of why Earth is so motherfucking important. Right. But the whole thing about us having sex and in the goddess and gods, because they can't feel like we don't realize that here on Earth is the only place that we have access to the full sound spectrum, which is also the full emotional spectrum. And so in the way that when we're love making or whatever, all the emotions that are going off, they don't feel all of that because they always in a state of love or in heightened awareness or euphoria in a way. And so to them, that's like they get high off of that shit. And in this book, they talk about how they used to eat us because they would love the energy that we would be putting out, which makes me think of Monsters Inc., but it also makes me think of the motherfucking Titans. I don't know if y'all ever seen Return of the Titans and shit like that. The anime where the giants was eating the people because they liked the way they bitch, it got a little deep in that book. So I was just like, okay, listen. I hear you. It's a different perspective for sure. It's called Earth by Barbara Marciniak or Marciniak. But it was an interesting read though, because I think that a lot of things that I have known to be true came through this book. So I was like, oh damn, like, I don't even know. My content is being restricted right now I didn't even say shit. But anyways, so yeah, so I thought the whole living library thing was really interesting, but it was just the whole them merging with us while we having sex that I was just like, I don't know about that. But I've seen it in several movies though, because I love timepieces, right? I love pieces where they like going back in time or like they doing like, the Delphi shit or like, like any of that shit. Like I love that. And like I've actually seen this scene where I really want to say like it was like the Spartans or something like that. But there was a scene in the movie where the lady was in bed and she was like wrapped in like the blanket or whatever, and she was like having sex with a god, and she ended up getting pregnant or whatever. And I was just like, and then I think about the story of like Zeus and all of them, and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense, because that also like read something a long time ago where, because y'all know I'll be deep off in documents reading shit that I don't have to be reading, but I just be like, I would rather know than to not know. Like, I'd rather have some information on some shit than to be completely blindsided by some shit. And so I was reading this document one time, and it was talking about how damn, I forgot what I was saying about that. Yeah, the eating people part is what threw me off. But it was just kind of like this is what used to happen in the past. But it also made me think about how, how they talk about how Ronald Reagan made that deal with the extraterrestrials or whatever, and that's why 80,000 kids go missing a year, And so I don't know, because they tried to show me one time I was in a vision, and they were showing me a lot of shit. Because I said, I'm ready. Show me, show me, show me. They showed me too motherfucking much. I said, get me out of here right now. Get me out of here. And so they took me underground. And it was like kids in cages, and it was like this thing coming towards me, but I didn't know how to identify what the fuck that thing was. It stood on two legs like a humanoid, but I couldn't figure out this part. And it was kind of like, I said, get whatever the fuck this is, no. Bring me back. And it was in tunnels underground. And so I was just like, I think that there's a lot of truth in this book. I just think that there's a certain part of my identity that just wasn't ready for the piece at the end. Like it was a little part of me that was just like, all right, bitch. Because what if the Pleiadians are the sex demons they keep warning us about? Because this was some freaky deaky shit. Okay. So it's like I couldn't get over some of the shit after I thought about it. But I'm glad that I found this book, though. I'm glad that I read this book, because I think that it helped me when it came to like reconnecting with goddess energy and like just that type of shit. And I had to talk myself through it. And the reason why I'm talking about this, because I think that it's natural for us to fear what we don't know, but we can't make the decision from that fear. And so like I had to talk myself through this and say, Taja, it's okay that you're a little afraid of this, because I feel like, this is new. Like this is something completely left field, and it shifted you in so many different ways that, like it's natural for you to feel a little afraid of this, because it's talking about an entity coming into your body and using you. Like, and I have done a lot of work around, I know that this is true too, because I've done a lot of work. Like sometimes when I'm just talking to myself and I'm doing protection work, it's like nothing can enter into my body. Nothing can. So I know that it's possible, because why would I be saying that just out of intuition, And so it's just like, it kind of brought up a fear for me that I've had, especially having like attachments and like being attacked by all these, because I told you I was attacked for 2.5 years. That's why I don't let that fucking phase me when it comes to magic, when it comes to attacks. Bitch, I done got hit by the motherfucking government. Bitch, I don't listen. I think I've dealt with some of the worst of it. So it just don't. But anyways, so I know that those things are possible because I can see it in other people's eyes. I can see it on other people. But I don't know if I would like open myself up, because in the book it's talking about how we need to kind of open ourselves up, but we need to make sure that we set our intentions of what's allowed and what's not allowed and things like that. And I think that part just kind of scared me, because I don't ever want my autonomy or my authority to be in question. And so they talk about how we maintain our authority because we set the rules for what can happen and what can't happen. But I don't know if I'm ready to move on this. And that's what I think catches my breath a little bit about it. Because it's just like, yeah, I believe what you're saying. But at the same time, that's a lot to take in. I don't think that if I would have read this 2 years ago that I would feel how I feel now. Like I think I'm in a place where I can hold this a lot better than what I would have been able to hold before this point. But yeah, I went through my own cycle with it. And that's where I got to maybe they the sex demons. I don't know. But I also just realized I don't need to figure this out right now. Like I read the book. I think it was a good book. Now I'm just going to see what shows up in my reality to confirm what I read. So what should beginners read? So I actually did, like, if you go to my YouTube, I have some book recommendations on there. I feel like that's for a certain group of folks, LOL. I also feel hesitant about that. Yeah, because what's crazy is the Pleiadians have been reaching out. Like the Pleiadians have been working with me for like 3 years. I just didn't know that they was working with me. And so like a lot of the things that I've come to believe and a lot of the wisdom that I acquired, like it was coming, I didn't realize it was coming through them. Even with certain things that I experienced, like it was like them setting it up because it was going to awaken me, because it was going to whatever. And so it's like I'm appreciative for them and like the wisdom that they've given me, but I also found some contradictions in what they're saying versus what the great mother is saying. And so like my thing is that I think there's a lot of different groups that are trying to create specific timelines, right? And I just think that this is one of those groups that's trying to create a specific timeline, you know? And so it's just like I need to see what else is out there before I make any decision, you know? Oh, you can go to my website, boo. My website is www.bigtajj.com. And so I was just like, I don't really know, because the thing that they say in here about the moon and about Saturn or whatever is very different than what I was channeling as well. And so it's just like, I don't know if I'm getting interference because I thought I was channeling that from them. You know, I don't know if I'm getting interference, if somebody is trying to scramble the energy too, because, you know, the government actually has this patent on this tool called the voice of God or whatever. And I've been talking about this for a long fucking time, that they got a patent where they can just kind of tap right into your subconscious. It like has something to do with your temples or whatever. And so, I think it's different when they come through because it just sounds like a regular voice, and it kind of comes through like right here at eye level. I don't know how else to describe that to y'all, but it comes through at eye level, but it's like back left corner of your head. Um, and so it could be interfering. It could be a lot of things that I'm like I've entered into this space where I don't necessarily know what's right and what's wrong, or like what's true and what's not. And I think we're supposed to be entering into that space because I think that time is actually collapsing in. And I told y'all that time is the separation spell that they put on us so that we could heal. And I think that what we're experiencing when we feel like time is just speeding up is that time is actually collapsing in on itself. And I also think with the Mandela effects and stuff like that, we don't realize that in the present moment, we heal the past. And so sometimes those things change. What we thought was true for the past change because we changed the past in the present moment. Like we think that it's past, present, then future. It does not work like that. You know, they're all interlinked within each other and they're all happening simultaneously. And so Pleiadians are from the future doing things right now in the past, in their past, trying to help our present in their present. You know, like, so it's way more interconnected than we understand it to be. And so I think that a lot of what I've been experiencing in these last couple of months is time collapsing in on itself. And so I think that we are supposed to be able to hold multiple truths at one time. There's not just one truth. This is the way, that is the way. Like, I think that there's multiple timelines converging into one. You know, I think that there's a timeline of Atlantis that actually survived. I think there's a timeline of Lemuria, Mayans that actually survived, you know, and just like how we have multiple timelines of our timeline, and some of those timelines got destroyed. Some of those timelines went in this direction. Some of those timelines did the middle path. Like, I think that, all of those civilizations that we consider to be ancient, like ancient Egypt, and there's still timelines that still exist of those. And I think that what's going to be happening in these next years or so is that we're going to start seeing things appear in our timeline that we didn't have access to before. Like they found that 500,000 year mummy, how people are finding crystals in their backyard and all of the things. Like, I think that the timelines are merging, and that some of the things that were not visible to us before because we were locked down in consciousness wise is going to start being visible to us again. And some of those are going to be the beings that they talk about in like mythology and stuff. Like, I think that we are going to be able to see those things in these next 10, 20 years, you know. And I think that a lot of crystals are coming back into this reality that had to leave, and those crystals contain information. And so, like I said, this was a really, really good book. I think that I'm going to keep exploring on this journey. I just don't know what to do with this yet. So yeah, dragons, mermaids, fairies, yeah, all of that shit. I need to go back and watch Loki. I need to watch Loki too. Somebody else mentioned that to me, and I feel like he keeps coming up. Yes, absolutely, because we can connect to the energy. Yeah, and so I think that a lot of them are going to start merging, and we're just going to like start realizing how magical this place is. Like, most of us don't even understand that how magical the sun is, and how the sun, when it touches your skin, it reads what you need. And so, like, you know, that whole thing of what you focus on, you create. So if you want to, if you focus on the positive things, you get abundance of positive things. But if you focus on negative things, you get abundance of negative things. That's because of the sun. That's because of the sun. And these people have live in so much fear that they've got us to a point where we fear the sun. Whereas we didn't have things like sunscreen that are causing cancer, by the fucking way. We didn't have shit like that before the last couple of years, but they have convinced so many people that the sun is killing you and that the sun is causing cancer and the sun is causing all of these things, that now we put all these chemicals on our skin so the sun can't read you in the same way that it normally reads you. You know, and a lot of reason why they live underground is because they don't want the sun to read their information, which is just a whole nother thing. But it's like we don't understand just how magical this place is, and I think that we're going to start understanding soon. You know, yeah, they made us believe we were the only ones here. That's never been true. Yeah, not me about to put sunblock on my hands before I drive so I don't get it. Yeah, that is fear. You know, like I think a lot of things that we fear in this reality is programming, because there's literally nothing to fear. You mean to tell me that people live for centuries with the sun in the sky without any sunblock or anything, but all of a sudden, randomly, the sun decides to start killing people? Right? Some of those holes in the ozone layer are so that we can get more spiritual light in here, because the spiritual light is being blocked. But they tell you that the ozone layer holes are because of pollution, right? So that people get scared and they lather themselves up because they think that radiation is coming for them. And that is not true. A lot of the shit that they tell us is to fearmonger us, to get us to use their products, to go to their corporations, spend our money, use their products that are genetic motherfucking weapons. Because those products cause the cancer. Those products cause the hair falling out. The products cause the things that you actually are buying it for. You know? And if you believe in your head that your hair is thinning and you buy something because you want it to bring back, it's a vicious cycle, you know? I'm not telling y'all what to do. Because somebody said, I'm never wearing sunscreen again. Listen, I'm not telling y'all what to do, but I live in LA and I don't wear sunscreen, and people, like, some of my friends will be like, oh yeah, you're going to get cancer. Baby, you worry about your cancer and I worry about mine. You know, and even the concept of health, you don't need a doctor because you are the epitome of health. You are the most magical technology here. The only reason why you get sick is because you think you can. The only reason why we get sick is because we think that we can, right? The whole AIDS epidemic, HIV epidemic, the reason there are people who don't have AIDS but have HIV. And it's because we don't realize that when we adapt something as a belief system for everybody, the fear of it all will make us manifest it and create it in our own life. And so it's people who have HIV who don't have AIDS, and it's because they psychologically created the fucking thing. It's an energetic thing. If they just change the shame and fear around it, it's not there anymore. It's fucked up to say it that way, but that's what it is. You know, you don't understand how fucking powerful you are. You don't understand that you are the creator. You created this place, and now you're playing out your part in the creation, because whatever you create, you have to try out. You know, like, you have to go into your creation and exist within it. That's how you learn what you need to learn, what refinements you need to make. You know, like, that's how you learn the fucking lessons. And so, anyways, so I'm starting to think about things in a different way, and I'm just going to keep sharing those things. But anything that I present to y'all, just know that for me, it's a theory. I don't hang on to truth, and I don't attach to truth as if it's the last piece of motherfucking bread in the bread box. You know, I'm more of the type of person who is, I consider different perspectives and I consider different things, and then I kind of don't hang on to it. But if it comes back up, it's like, oh, I remember this one time I read this in this book and it said da 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 da. And that kind of comes into this. And so it just all informs me, you know? And I feel like we got to learn sacred detachment. You know, we got to detach from trying to feel like we know the truth, because even in us feeling like, oh yeah, well, this is true for me, it doesn't allow for growth in the way that we need to grow. You know, like, I think that right now, especially in how fast everything is moving, you need to be loose on what your truth is. Okay. Because you don't want to have an identity crisis about some shit just because you've tied your identity to this one specific truth that you find out is not true, and it shatters everything. It's like when you were a kid and your parents were lying to you about something to protect you, and then you find out that they was fucking lying, and then you all of a sudden don't trust your parents anymore. It's like the same thing, like it can send you into an identity crisis. And so for me, truth is important in the way that that's what we're here to do, is try to figure out what our truth is, but I also leave space for your truth to evolve and grow as you do as well. uh you know Nah, I hear you, Taj. Just saying that even being a possibility. Bye bye sunscreen. Yeah. Yeah. I think I think that my discernment is a lot more intact than I believed it to be. Because I think I spent a lot of my life not believing myself, and because I've been gaslit so much by a lot of people anytime that I'm operating in my truth or I believe something that can't be proved. I think I've been gaslit, and I think a bunch of fucking, what the fuck you call them people? Monkeys in a fucking barrel. They think just because they're louder together that it makes them true. And it's just like, no, that doesn't mean that you're true. It does not mean that that's truth, honey. But I just kind of, what about when you have certain experiences you can't deny that show you things beyond this world? I believe that shit in some capacity. And just how I'm informed by my waking life and reading books and meeting new people and having experiences, I'm also informed by my visions, by my dreams, by just clear knowing. And so again, I don't think that I know what the truth is. Instead, I'm open to the truth revealing itself to me. And so it's kind of like, for me, it's like duly noted. I know everything. I notate it, but it don't have to mean something for me. I think that because we're so obsessed with trying to process things and trying to understand things from an intellectual level, even though our mind is so limited, it's only 10% of who we are, that's where pain and suffering comes from. You don't need to understand and figure everything out in the moment. Like sometimes it's just like, oh, let me take notice of this. And then later on, it comes back up and you find the answer in a couple of months. Like that's kind of how you have to be, because that's kind of how spirit works. It works in spirals. It like breadcrumbs you. It'll give you like a little nugget, and then you follow that little trail like Hansel and Gretel. And then all of a sudden you get the big nugget, and it's like, oh my gosh, I finally understand this thing. And then you keep following the trail, and then they give you a bigger nugget, and it's like, oh damn, now I finally understand this. So you got to kind of be loose in your truth. I notice everything. I notice it, but it does not have to mean something for me, because I'm always playing the role of the witness. Somebody who is the witness is somebody who sees everything, but you don't have to make meaning out of everything. And so I guess let me say that is, they just keep restricting my life in these 10-minute increments, and I'm not even saying anything, which is insane. But anyways, so it's kind of like you don't want to be over attached to anything, because we don't realize that we create our own pain and suffering all the fucking time, because we feel like we need to know right now. We have this fear of the unknown. And I feel like you don't have to have that fear. Instead, you don't have to figure it all out right now, because it's not meant for you to know everything in every single fucking moment. For me, it's more like, I know that it's going to come back around if I'm meant to see it. I just need to be in this place of noticing it. But I think it's easier said than done, because it took me a long time to get to that place where I was not over spiritualizing everything, because I was in survival mode. And I think survival mode will do that to you. It'll have you trying to figure out the answers to everything, so much so that you can't rest. So much so that you can't give yourself a second or a break or anything, because you're trying to figure everything out when you don't need to know it all right now in this moment. So me, like, even with that book towards the end, kind of it stirred up some fear of something in me. And I had to talk myself down, and I had to say, Todd, it's okay that you don't know this. It's okay for you to be a little afraid of what you don't know, but you still have to remain open to this being a possibility, like you remain open to everything else being a possibility. And I talk myself through it, and I say, okay, you don't have to figure this out right now. You know the information. You read the book. If there's something more to it, you'll see it when it's time. And then I just, boop, keep moving on, So I think that there has to be a level of sacred detachment, okay? You have to be somewhat detached from all things. Even like when I'm scrolling through social media, right? If I'm scrolling through social media and everything is like, oh, say her name, this person died and got hung by the police, and then this baby was killed by the police, and I cannot process all of that. Okay. And it was never meant for me to process all of that. It was never meant for us to know everything. We don't understand the huge role that technology plays in us expanding our awareness. Like, it was created and it was supposed to be created because now things are at our fingertips. We can learn faster, we can evolve faster, all of those things, right? But I think sometimes the way that we use it, or the way that other beings are using it to keep us in this perpetual trauma, it could be overwhelming. And so I'm not gonna wait, TikTok is cutting off. I think somebody said I was glitching on YouTube too. Okay. A little bit. YouTube is. That's your energy. Still we rise, period. Um, okay, cool. But yeah, so you gotta have like a little bit of detachment. Like, you cannot over attach yourself to everything. Cause I remember that there was a period of time where I was like stuck in that shit, especially when the Palestinian shit was going on. And it was just like one thing after another, after another, after another, to where I could not catch my fucking breath, and I couldn't stop thinking about the unalive babies, because they were showing us unalive babies. And like, oh my gosh, that does something, like, that shakes me to my fucking core. Um that shakes me to my fucking core, you know? And so we are not supposed to be subjected to that over and over again. It's a way for them to re-traumatize us. It's a way for them to push the fear of death onto us, you know? And so, oh, I haven't even watched Love Island. I stopped watching after last season. They pissed me off too motherfucking much in last season with all the fucking semantics and antics. I had to get the fuck out of there. But you know, like, you cannot subject yourself to that over and over and over again and think that your body is not subconsciously taking in the programming that you need to be afraid of dying. And so I think the fear of death is the thing that always impacts the people in the West. And it's because we turned our back on death. Well, you know, like, that's what ancient Egypt was about. It was about them discovering death. They were actually death doulas, and where, to the point where they could walk you into the deathing process, to where you didn't have to cross over by yourself, because the ancient Egyptians knew how to leave their body and cross over with you to make sure that there was safe passage. Some of us are still death doulas. Some of us are shadow walkers. We don't realize that. Some of us came here to die in the right way, you know, like, die in a place of where we're not in fear, you know? And so it's like, we just gotta learn how to live. I think so many of us spend so much of our time trying to protect ourselves from dying that we have not been living, you know? And I think part of living is sacred detachment. You have to be, because Venus, which is our higher self, which is the higher self of Earth, is Venus. Venus is trying to teach you how to live well with a sense of detachment, so that you don't suffer, you know, like pleasure. It's teaching us how to experience pleasure with sacred detachment. You know, everything is temporary in this reality. Even everything is borrowed in this reality. Even your body don't leave this place. Your thoughts are not original. Like, all of the shit is borrowed. And so we have to learn how to detach from what we think is ours. We got to stop trying to possess things and conquer things and force things. Instead, we just need to, we came here for an experience. We need to allow ourselves to be, you know, it is great and beautiful thing to experience pain for other people, you know, because that means that you're connected to everything, and it means that you fucking care. But you don't want to be consumed by that. You don't want that to be everything that you are, because it puts you in a place of hopelessness, of powerlessness, you know. um and I think that we just gotta take care of ourselves in the process of trying to take care of other people, you know. And so somebody said, question, with you being a medium, at times I know that people have passed, or the way they will. Yeah. Have I known that? Or are you asking me, have I known when somebody is about to pass? Or you've known when somebody is about to pass? Because that's discernment. That's the gift of discernment. It also can be the gift of prophecy as well. Oh, I get those feelings. Yeah, it could be clear knowing as well if it's more of like a feeling type of thing. Clairsentience, it could be any of your gifts. But yeah, when you're connected with the energy or you've had somebody within your lineage who did spiritual work, a lot of times you inherit their gifts and stuff like that. And so if you can tell when somebody is about to pass, or I can kind of see the spirit of alcoholism on people, they look very gray to me. It's like they're devoid of light in a way, and it's just like, oh, that alcohol is on your ass, bitch. um so yeah, no, that's just a gift. Don't be afraid of who you are, because if it comes natural to you, it's just who you are. You just need to accept it. I think we spend too much time running away from ourselves because we don't want to be different from other people, because we live in a society that's contingent upon us belonging and being a part of this whole, but the whole is distorted, you know, or addicted to distortion. And so, um, if you have those gifts, nurture them. Allow yourself to be that version of yourself that sees those things, because that's a beautiful, beautiful gift to have. The first time was my stepdad, and was like, wait, yeah, so that means you probably worked as a death doula or something of that sort, in previous lifetimes, or it could have been a grandparent or somebody who came before you. But there's nothing to fear in death, because people don't die. When they die to this place, they're birthed somewhere else, and their energy is always going to exist as the form that you knew them as, because everything is already created, you know. Do you have any advice for if you're transversing this with no guidance? Yeah, girl, all my advice is if you transversing this with no guidance, because I didn't have no guidance. And so the whole purpose of me creating this platform was so that if there were people like me who didn't have ancestors or people that came before them, they would know where to go. And so if you go to the first season of my podcast, that was when I first started my journey. Some of that information is a little outdated to me now. I think I've learned, my truth has expanded and grown from that point. But if you're just getting started, I think that's a great place to start. My podcast is called Becoming No One by Taja Moore. It's also on my YouTube too, in a playlist. But I would start there, and I always give y'all homework. I give y'all recommendations for when it comes to books y'all need to be looking at. I talk about the basics in my first season. I'm still on the first season. It's really good. Oh, thank you. I was so nervous about that when I was doing it, because I just didn't know what I was doing, and I didn't really want to be a podcaster. Oh yeah, if you like to watch it, Sammy, then you can go to my YouTube, because my YouTube has the videos for all of season 1. It's just when we get to season 2 and season 3, there are not videos. But I wanted it to be where people can watch it, and so season 1 there is videos, and it's like 15 episodes, I think. But season 1 gives you all of the basics of spirituality that you need to know. Uh, yeah, I have a wise friend in my car teaching me. Yeah, that's what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be personal, and I really just wanted to take people along on my journey. And that's what I've been doing this whole time. Like, I don't claim to know everything, because I don't think there's a way for us to know everything. I just know what I know at that moment. And I hope that what I know is enough to help somebody navigate what they're going through in their moment. Um, Perfect. I'm gonna hold myself accountable and watch it after. Okay, good. But don't feel like you need to get it all done today. Make sure you're taking breaks and you're taking care of yourself. Because I think that what I would have wished that I would have spent more time doing while I was on my spiritual journey was resting. Because a lot of times we think we have to heal, and we get in this energy of trying to fix everything about ourselves, but we don't need to fix ourselves to heal. It's not about processing the information. It's about allowing yourself to feel it. It's about allowing yourself to hold multiple truths about yourself without feeling like one of them is bad or good or whatever the case may be. And so it's learning how to face yourself without flinching, learning how to hold everything that you are. And I've been a lot of different things. I'm not always been this person. I've been a motherfucker to a lot of people. I've been a tyrant to a lot of people too. I think I've always been on the right side of things, but I've not always known how to articulate, or I've not always known how to move from a place that's not chaos. And so give yourself space to, like, try. I think too many times we're afraid of getting it wrong, and so we won't try. Just no, try. I think that healing is not about processing. It's about you trying to become a different person, meaning like you don't need to understand it from an intellectual level. You don't need to process it. You need to become something different, meaning that you need to make different choices. And so whatever choices you're making right now, if you're not happy, you need to be making different choices in all areas of your life. And so that's what I did. Like the whole thing on my journey that I feel like was huge for me is like I had gotten to a place where I was so fucking low, and that I was like, I'm deciding if I'm going to live or if I'm going to go somewhere else. And so I decided to stay. And in me deciding to stay, I recognized that I was miserable in every single aspect of my life. And so if I'm this fucking miserable, then that means everything I've done up until this point, I've done it in a way that has not suited me. That's not aligned with me. You can say that that's wrong, or like you're doing things wrong, but I didn't look at it that way. I said that it wasn't aligned with me. Otherwise, I would be happy. And so I was willing to give up everything, meaning like everything that I had done up until that point, every single relationship, every single person, I didn't give a fuck. Mom, dad, sister, brother, cousin. Anybody could have got that shit, And so I was like, everything that you've done up until this point has caused you pain and made you feel alone and made you feel like you was unworthy and all of these things. So whatever you were doing, you need to look at that shit and you need to choose differently. But you also need to figure out why you did that shit. Not why the other person did what they did, because that's none of your fucking business. Oftentimes we only want to understand why somebody else did something because we think it justifies the pain that we went through, or we're trying to damn, I don't know why that evaporated out of my motherfucking head. We're trying to justify, or we're trying to place the blame somewhere else so that we can get some relief. But relief does not come from you blaming somebody else or you trying to put it somewhere else. It comes from you actually integrating the wisdom that you learned from the experience. And so you need to look at your side. It's okay to look at other people's side and say, yeah, they did this, they did that, but there's nowhere for you to move from that. You can only move from you taking accountability and responsibility for the part that you played. And there's always a place where you abandon yourself, where you didn't speak up for yourself, or you didn't tell people what you need, or you didn't make yourself visible, or whatever the case may have been. That's the part that you need to own. And then next time you need to do something different, you have to stand 10 toes down on what you choose, because I think a lot of us have an integrity issue. We'll say that we're going to do some shit and then we don't. And what I mean by that is, like, I can't tell you how many times I prayed to the gods above and I said, if you help me through this hangover, I'll never drink again. And then I'm drinking the same day or the next day. Like, we have an integrity issue within ourselves too. And so like, we'll say, okay, I'm gonna eat healthy. And then you order in Chick-fil-A. Okay, I'm gonna do this, but then you doing that. You cannot be in a state of contradiction, because then the message that you're sending out is not clear. The goal is to clear the message up and focus your attention in one direction. But if you're giving all these mixed signals, then spirit don't know what the fuck to do, because you sending these mixed signals and you don't even have integrity. You're not even honoring what you say you're going to do. And so why the fuck would I help you? Because you doing all this, you confusing me with your confusion. And so it's about getting clear. It's about owning your shit. It's about taking responsibility for the choices you made within that dynamic. Yeah, that person could have hurt you. Yeah, that person could have did this. Yeah, that could have, but like, what can you own out of that situation? What's yours to carry? And make sure the signal is clear. You have to stop negotiating against yourself. If you say this is what's best for me, and I've learned that from this experience, then you need to be choosing the thing that's best for you. You can't let them dangle the motherfucking carrot in front of your face and you like, oh, that's a juicy motherfucking carrot. Although I already know what's over there, that carrot is poisonous, but it is kind of juicy and I ain't had one of those carrots in a minute. No. Bitch, go over there and get you some steak. Go over there and get you some broccoli. That carrot is poisonous, and it's easier said than done. I say this with compassion because I think it's hard to become a different person. I think that there's so many parts of you that have to die over and over again. And that's why I call myself the soul doula, because I think we talk about the death and birth that happens at the beginning and the end of the cycle, but you're constantly going through death and rebirth cycles while you're here. And so I want to help people through those transitions. And so a lot of my content, if you go back as far as you possibly can. All of it is like me discovering things in real time and my truth changing and evolving and growing. And so I've left up a lot of my old content because I feel like even though some of that stuff I don't agree with anymore, it was my journey, you know? And I think my journey has been super, super beautiful because I've allowed myself to be transformed. Like I'm still doing like the work on myself. I'm still looking at those parts of me that are struggling. I'm still to this day doing it. And I'm not afraid of having to look at myself and having to make an adjustment, because I think authenticity is about refinement. It's about refining those areas of your life that still need tenderness and love and grace. And so that's what I've just been doing, you know. Can you tell us a book that impacted you the most? The Celestine Prophecy. I say the Celestine Prophecy. I say The Seed of the Soul by Gary Zukov. I say, yeah, Waking Up in 5D by Maureen Saint Germain. I say that all the time, but like that, if you want to get more into like the Fae and the dragons and the stuff like that, like I thought that book was just like insanely good. There's another book called Activating Your Cosmic DNA as well that I feel like was really good. The Missing Element by Deborah Silverman. If you're trying to figure out how to balance the elements in your body, like use astrology and stuff to balance the elements in your body, The Missing Element by Deborah Silverman is a really good one. Thank you. Thank you, my love. What else? I think Astral Plane, the Astral Plane is Scenery, Inhabitants, and Phenomenon by C.W. Leadbeater. He was a medium. That's really good too, because it tells you everything that exists on the astral plane. And so you don't want to just go into the astral plane all willy-nilly. Like if you're going to astral project, you need to be lucid dreaming first, because lucid dreaming is actually safe where astral projection is not always safe. Okay, you can really be harmed in the astral plane. And so it just basically tells you what to expect in the astral plane. I did 2 episodes on season 1 of my podcast about this. But yeah, if you watch season 1 of my podcast, I always give y'all book recommendations. I give y'all homework. I give y'all all kind of things that y'all can do or things that I was doing that kind of helped me through the process. And so my book recommendations are on there. And a lot of that is on YouTube too. And I put everything in a playlist on YouTube. So if you go to specific playlists, you'll be able to see. But yeah, that's what the Celestine Prophecy was like. I read the Celestine Prophecy this year, and I can't get that shit out of my head because it literally describes the process of awakening that I went through. But I'm like reading it after I already went through the shit. So it was like, oh, okay, this is where I am now. This is where, you know, so it's that book. Thank you. That book was a revelation in itself. I was buzzing off of that for such a long time. Like reading that book, like I cannot get enough of recommending it to people. Like if you give me a bullhorn, I'll be shouting it from the motherfucking mountaintops. I'll be like that Christian man with that cross with the earbuds in, flipping on the corner about that book, because that book was so fucking good. Like it really, really just brought everything that I was doing in perspective, and it just made me trust myself, because it is the journey that I went through without me even reading that book. It was literally the journey I had went through. And so I also think that even when you're not trying to find your way in the way that everybody else does, you always end up back at the same point, or you always end up, you know, at the same place, if that makes sense. And so I don't think that it matters how you go about your journey. I just think that the important thing for you to know is that there's no shame in being you. Okay. So I was saying the Celestine Prophecy, love that book. Oh my gosh, it changed my life. But I think that one thing that I wish that somebody would have told me is that I'm not broken. There is no shame in being you. There is no shame in being you. Okay. If you think that something is wrong with you, you will spend the rest of your journey searching for something outside of yourself, and nothing is going to satisfy you because you inherently think that you are broken. Okay. Shame has a way of completely distorting your perception of reality. You will never be able to see clearly if you can't see yourself clearly. Okay. Yeah. Shame is a self-worth issue. That's what I'm getting at. Okay. If you think that something is wrong and that you are broken, you will try to fix yourself. There's nothing to fix. You are exactly who you are supposed to be. The only thing you're trying to do is unbury yourself. Okay. And so the first thing that you need is safety. Safety has to come first. And safety comes from the environment you are in. If you are in an environment that makes you feel small, it makes you feel rejected, unseen, unheard, unsupported, you have to get yourself out of that environment. I do not care by what means you do that. Get yourself out of there. Because if you constantly have people around you who are reinforcing to you that you ain't shit, that you broken, that you're not enough, just by you fucking existing, there's no way for you to see yourself outside of that, because you are literally subjected and submerged in the environment. Okay. It's like being in the ocean that's poisoned. Okay. So the first thing is safety. You have to get in the right environment. You need to get around people who empower you and get away from people who disempower you. And that don't have to be forever. You know, I think sometimes people be like, yeah, but it's my family and da da da. Okay, cool. Go get your motherfucking feet under you first, because those people are not serving you right now. Take a little bit of silence to yourself. Take a little bit of space to yourself. You know, but you need to get in an environment of people who empower you, that when you tell them your ideas, they say, yes, go after that shit. You're worthy of that. You know, you need to get around people who see the good in you without you having to force them to see that shit, right? That's safety. You also have to learn how to speak the fuck up, because that's also safety. People do not know you and do not know what you need until you open your fucking mouth and say it. It's so many times that we will think, well, it's common sense. Well, I would do it for them. They just supposed to know. No, the fuck they're not supposed to just know, because what triggers you is based off of your experiences. If you have not told them your experiences, they do not know you. And so many times we enter into relationships and we think that people is supposed to just be common sense because it was common sense for us. But it wasn't common sense for us. We learned through our experiences in the first 25 years of our life, right? And we think because we get it, other people get it. It does not work that way. A closed mouth, like you said, Lady Kiko, spell that out for me. I want to know what that says. It don't get fucking fed. You assuming, Kiki, okay. You assuming that people just know is you avoiding emotional vulnerability. You have over spiritualized yourself out of vulnerability, which means that you went home, you thought about it, you thought about all the things that you've been through, and you said they gonna act just like the other person, so I might as well not even say nothing to them, because, oh, okay, I got you. I might as well not even say nothing to them because I know exactly how they're gonna act and they're not gonna receive me. And so you're preparing for the worst, so you never say nothing at all, and then the motherfucker don't get a chance to know you, they don't get a chance to support you, they don't get a chance to hold themselves accountable. That's not how relationship works. Most of us spiritual bypass by trying to avoid the hard shit. That's the darkness. A lot of us don't want to deal with the uncomfortable shit, but that is a part of you being human. You can't bypass the human experience. Okay. And the human experience is feeling, which is emotional vulnerability. If you want somebody to show up for you, you have to tell them how they're impacting you, because they don't know that they need to do something different unless you have told them. Conflict is a natural part of every single relationship. You need conflict because that's how it reveals your edges. I can't tell you how many times somebody has like come into my life, and this happens to me all the time, y'all. But somebody will come into my life and they feel like I'm a specific way or whatever. And so they do something that ends up like starting an argument. And then we have an argument and it's like, oh, somebody made a video about this earlier this week. Oh, you don't play, I don't play either. Let's be friends. You know, it's like it's always that situation with me. And I think that when we be trying to figure each other out, sometimes we manipulate each other in different ways and we don't realize that it's manipulation, you know? And so I feel like conflict is a way for you to get to know each other, for people to know that you're not the one, the two, or the three, for people to know that you have specific needs that are different than everybody else. We try to treat everybody like a one size fits all. No, we are different personalities. We have different experiences. We have different triggers. And that's why we need to communicate to other people the shit that triggers us, because we have all had a multitude of different experiences. If I think about all the shit that just happened in my life, that's a lot of motherfucking shit. Then I look at my cousin's life and in this cousin's life, and I go on through my whole fucking family. That's a lot of fucking shit. There's no way that you would even know that this family has been through all of that if we never open our fucking mouth and say it. And most people won't know. They just think, oh, they just so strong. They hold everything together. Bitch, we done been through the fucking fire. You know, and so it is your responsibility to let people know who you are, which is making yourself visible. If you never speak up, you are not visible in your relationships. And then you wonder why you feel invisible in your relationships is because you have not opened your fucking mouth. That's why. And I don't mean that as a dig. I think we all do that to try to protect ourselves. We will end up in this place of aloofness where we are just watching other people, seeing what they do, and then figuring out whether or not we feel like they're safe, and then we'll start being in community with them for real. You know, you need safety, but you need to know that you're not broken. You need to know that the goal is to actually make a change. And so the way Spirit showed this to me the other day was like two people sitting at a table, and it was a girl and a dude, and they had been dating for a while. And the dude was like, yeah, I just feel like I'm not ready. I'm not the man that I'm supposed to be. And I'm really just trying to find myself. And so the girl said back to him, well, you are yourself. And so are you saying that you lost? Because I'm confused. You are yourself. So what is it that you're looking for that you have to find or whatever? And he was like, no, I just feel like I'm not ready and da da da. And she like gets up from the she has this whole self-respect moment, whatever. She gets up from the table, she's walking away, she turns around and she says that the goal is not for you to search for yourself. The goal is for you to become yourself. And so just by you thinking about it, just by you trying to figure out who you are up here, that's not how you do it. You actually have to practice it, asshole. That's what she said. You actually have to practice it. And that shit shifted me, because I feel like we spend so much time in our head trying to figure it out up here. You don't need to figure it out up here. You know who you are on a intrinsic level. So you don't need to figure it out and try to search for yourself. You need to try something new. That's it. Because you're becoming something. You're not processing something. You're becoming something. And so you need to be willing to try something new. If this doesn't work, then try that. But I think so many times people are just afraid to try, especially if their feelings get involved, because they're afraid to risk exposure and to risk being hurt. But you cannot protect yourself from pain without protecting yourself from happiness. It comes with the motherfucking job. You know, and it's all a lesson. Like, I think some of those the hardest moments in my life have been the ones that taught me the most about myself. And so I'm not afraid of going through shit. I'm not afraid of the dark shit. I'm not afraid of any of that. I'm not afraid of people throwing magic at me. I'm not afraid of that, because I've been through a lot of shit in my life, and I know that I've learned the most from that, you know? And so you just gotta give yourself grace. I think when you on your healing journey, the biggest thing you can do for yourself is give yourself grace and compassion. Treat yourself like you are sick and you are trying to nurse yourself back to health, because that is what's going on. It is going to be so hard for you to move anywhere if you're your biggest fucking op. If the call is coming from inside of the house, and we don't realize that sometimes we take on the voice of our abuser in our own head because we don't know what life is like without that voice being there. You got to try something new. You have to interrupt the identity, you know? So yeah, I did that for 25 years. Yeah, when I read the Celestine prophecy, it helped me stop being aloof. Yeah, same for me. I think that was the biggest thing that I got out of the Celestine prophecy, is that I had not realized that I was aloof in my relationships, which I think is Scorpio written all over it. But I'm a Scorpio moon. But I hadn't realized that I had been aloof in a lot of relationships. And aloofness is emotional unavailability. You know, nobody knows who you are because you're not saying anything about yourself, but you listening to everybody else's shit. And I think as a Taurus sun, Scorpio moon, I do that shit well. I do that shit real well. I clock everybody's shit. I don't ever say nothing about the shit, but I do clock that shit and put it in my back pocket, you know, and then I put people in boxes and categories based off of the shit that they doing, you know, but then I never say anything. And so they'll be looking at me like, oh my gosh, Taja is my best friend. And I'm like, bitch, how did we get here? Because I'm not on that. I don't think that. I might be your best friend, but you are not mine. You got some shit to do, you know, but then I feel bad because it's like, damn, bitch, but you did not tell them that it was a problem. So they over here thinking like you gang, you on the same shit as they are. Like, then you wonder why you being mischaracterized. Because bitch, you never said nothing. Now they think that you like them. Like, you gotta speak the fuck up. And so I had to change the way I was doing shit. Cause I was like, oh no. Because if you go around telling people all the time to my best friend, they think birds of a feather flock together. Bitch, I'm in the sky. You might be on the ground. I can't deal with that. And so that book changed me almost instantaneously, because I was like, oh, people don't know who I am. And I think I'm really good at hiding myself. So much so that I don't be noticing that I'm doing it. Like, I'm very good at being an incognito Negro in the background. I am very good at that shit, you know? And so that's me. I'm is I'm a bad person. I tried to have that conversation with them. Well, I feel like no, you're not a bad person. I think that you're just trying to protect yourself like all of us are. Um, but I think that I had to go back and have some conversations. I think that I had to forgive things in relationships too, because I realized that I clock, like, I know this shit and I won't say it, and then eventually it comes a day where I lay your shit flat and you don't know what the fuck hit you because you didn't even know I seen all that shit, bitch. Yes, I did actually, you know. And so like I had to stop myself from doing that because I'm just like, that's so unfucking fair, bro. Like, it's so fucking unfair. And so what I did after I read the Celestine prophecy is everything that in my friendships that I had been holding on to, I let all that shit go. And in one day, I'm talking about in 1 second, I was just like, nah, because you didn't never tell them that that was a fucking problem. That's on you. That's your weight to carry. That's not their shit to carry. So the next time it comes up, you need to say something. And so I forgave everything in relationships up until that point. And then I said that anytime I can't change the past, you know, like that's one thing. Another thing that I would tell you, you can't do shit about the past except what happened. Except what happened. You don't need the shoulda, coulda, woulda. I shoulda did this. I coulda did that. Oh, I feel regret because I had a kid at this. That. Let all that shit go. You can't do shit about that. That is a misuse of your imagination, you know? And so what I do is I can't do nothing about yesterday. And I trust that I handled it the best way that I could in the situation. The only thing I can do is look at where I can make improvements, and then next time I have to do it differently. I live by that. I live by that shit. And that keeps me honest and moving with integrity, because I think that it's unfair for me to hit you with some shit that I done kept and I ain't say nothing in the moment. Like, that felt unfair. So when I figured out that I was being aloof, I just wiped the slate clean and I said, moving forward, I need to speak up. And if we end up not being friends, we end up not being friends. If we end up not agreeing on things, we end up not agreeing on things. Like I genuinely am in this place where I only want people around me who are in an open place. I don't even need you to be in the same place as me. I need you to be in an open place where you're not closed off to expanding, growing, evolving, you know, because when you're closed off, you're impenetrable. You're refusing to grow, you're refusing to evolve, you're refusing to move. And so I also feel like that's why I kind of get like, I've been like a different person lately. And I think it hurts my feelings sometimes when I have to operate out of my shadow, but my shadow is meant to protect my light. And I think that a lot of people will come to me as a savior and they want me to just relieve whatever it is that they're going through. And so they think that I'm going to say something profound or I'm going to do something that completely shifts them out of the situation that they're in without them actually doing the fucking work, you know? And so there's a lot of people who will come to me because they want a spiritual bypass through me. And that has been irritating me a lot lately. And so what I've been doing is telling people no, because what spirit has been telling me is that sometimes it's my rejection that causes people to grow, right? And so they told me that recently. And so there was a situation, I would say probably like 2-3 months ago, where I get this girl who come to me and she was like, hey, I really need your help. Like, I'm about to kill myself, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, I don't know you. That's actually very unfair for you to come and set that at my fucking doorstep. And I don't know you from a can of fucking paint. 1, 2, for you to put the pressure of saving your life on me and I don't know you is another, what the fuck is going on type of situation. So like I sent her a message back and I was like, oh, I'm sorry that you're going through this, yada, yada, yada. And she was like, yeah, I booked the reading with you. Do you have a space for tomorrow or whatever? Because I'm just really going through something. And I'm like, no, my schedule is this. This is what I have available or whatever. And I had to set some boundaries because I think that a lot of people will try to weaponize their situation and weaponize my empathy against me. And so I was just like, no, this is my schedule. This is when you can, you know, whatever. And she's like, okay, I can't wait to meet you, da, da, da. And then so she messaged me like a day before the session and was like, I don't know, like, I just feel like I don't want to be here and I should just kill myself, right? Why the fuck are you asking me if you should kill yourself? And the people don't realize that victimhood narcissism is a real thing. Some of y'all are dedicated to being victim because y'all don't know who y'all are outside of that. And y'all realize that if you're the victim, people will willingly pour energy into you, you know? And a lot of us don't want to speak up about that because we feel bad because you're using something so personal to yourself as a barrier between us so that we can't say nothing. That is manipulation. That is manipulation sometimes. And so I had sent her a message back, and it was very nice, and because I think I'm very good at communicating or whatever. But I told her that it was unfair for her to put that on me and to say if this reading doesn't go well, then you're going to unalive yourself. I would rather you just cancel the reading and we not have the conversation. You know, I can't tell you what to do with your life, but I think that whatever you decide is what's best for you, and I have to support you in that. But if you are struggling, you need to call. And then I gave her the suicide hotline thing, and she's like, "Oh, well, I'm in Australia." Okay, well then look up the one for Australia, because you know. And so we had a conversation about it or whatever, and like she was cool. We do the reading, and she seemed like she was perfectly fine. But you know, I think good people are good at performing. You know, that I seemed perfectly fine for a long time, and I was suicidal. And so we had a conversation about it. Everything was good. And then she came back, I would probably say like a month or two later, on the same thing. And again, I just politely told her the same thing. And I told her that I felt like she was being unfair and that it's not my responsibility to do her work for her. I already gave her the advice on what I thought that she could do. And all I can do is give you the truth from my perspective. And she was trying to get me to convince her to stay here. And I was like, I'm not, that is a leak of my energy. Anytime you convincing, you proving, you trying to save somebody, you're leaking your energy. And I'm like, I'm not leaking my energy for you. And so I ended up giving her the hotline again, and I told her that what she was doing was unfair, and we had another conversation about it. And I got a little bit more assertive with that conversation, but it was still me being nice. Like I said that in the nicest way possible. And so she felt some type of way about it, and she like went away for like, I would probably say like 2 to 3 months. And then she came back and was like, you know what, I finally understood. And this is the time where I'm understanding that my rejection sometimes is what causes people to evolve. And so she comes back a couple months later, and she was like, I finally understand why you made the choice that you made. I thought in the moment that it was really harsh of you, but now I understand why you said what you said, you know? And I really appreciate that. And I was like, you know what? I'm happy that you're in a better place. And we like talked about it again or whatever. And then she kind of just like went on her way. But I've been having to do that a lot lately with people who are just trying to put their weight on me. They just want me to take it. They want me to do all the work for them and not take responsibility for their life and their choices, or make different choices, or show up differently or anything. And so I've been doing a lot more of setting boundaries with people, and it hurts sometimes when I do it, because I don't ever want to harm people, but at the same time, um, I've been a martyr, and I've died as a martyr in so many other lifetimes because I tried to save everybody. And I now understand that's not my job. In order for me to help you, you have to be in a place where you're willing to do the work. And if you are at the place where you feel like you're about to end your life, you've given up. And so, what do you think I'm going to be able to say, or I'm going to be able to do, when this is what you're choosing for your life? I am not responsible for your life, and I do not control other people. You control yourself. And so if you're deciding that this is what's best for you, who am I to say that it's not? I don't know your story. I don't know your life, you know? And so I've realized in these last couple of weeks, through me being a little bit more assertive and through me telling people when I feel like they stuck in victimhood and they're refusing to change. Because I've just been telling people the shit. Like, I just rather you be mad at me for the truth than you be mad at me for some other shit. And so I've realized that that has actually been working well, whereas before I don't think that it would have. Me setting boundaries with people, and me telling people, you know, or me like trying to support people too, because I also think that like sometimes I'm trying to support people in whatever their decision is, because I'm in this place of like acceptance. And so like I feel like, again, you're the expert on your life. You with yourself 24/7. I'm the expert on my life. If you tell me this is what you need and I can't provide it, I'll just support you in it and be like, okay, you know, I think you're making the best decision. I support you in that decision. But I think sometimes people be looking for something else. Hey, love. Hey, Janaea. Hey, Kenchi. Hey, Deirdre. So I think people just be looking for something else. And it's just like, no, you got to be clear. So I've been trying to be a lot more clear. I've been trying to be a lot more like honest with people, because I think before I was trying to protect people from my impact, you know, because again, I didn't want to harm people. But the way that I've been moving recently, I'm seeing that there's another way to where I don't have to be depleted in helping people. And I'm realizing that there's another way where I don't have to be in this energy of like fighting to save somebody. Because I'm not gonna lie, when she first initially sent me the message and said that she was gonna unalive herself, like I went into panic, you know. And I don't think that's the first time, because I've even had mentees who have like hit me up like I'm about to unalive myself. And like one of them had a kid and I went into straight panic mode and they didn't respond to me for like 3-4 hours. And then when they responded, it was like, oh, I'm better now. And I'm like, what the fuck? Why the fuck would you do that? That is not fair to me for you to put me in a tizzy for 3.5 hours, not respond, and then all of a sudden I'm okay. Like, that's unfair. Like, and especially as me working as like your mentor, it's like I almost called the fucking police. You have a child. Like, why would you do that? And it's happened so many different times. And so I finally entered into this place where I know how to navigate that, and where I realized that me turning somebody away because they're refusing to evolve or change and there's really nothing that I can do is the best thing that I can do for them. And it took me so fucking long to realize that, because I was spending so much time trying to make sure that I wasn't hurting people. But through learning how to communicate and just doing the thing and just clearing up my intention and stuff like that, I think I've learned how to navigate a lot better. And I learned how to give other people grace and give myself grace too, because I also think that sometimes when I can see it very clearly, I could become very like, no, like, and very like stiff, stiff. I become very stiff. And I think people can feel the separation, because I think a lot of people also expect compassion from me, and I'm not always compassionate. Like sometimes I'm fucking tired. Like sometimes my empathy has boundaries. Sometimes my compassion has boundaries. Especially if we've had the same conversation over and over again. At some point, I'm gonna be like, get your ass up and do something about it. And so yeah, I'm learning and I'm growing still, but those are some of the things that I would consider while you're on your journey. Like I think that understanding that you're not broken is important. Understanding that you need safety is important. And that safety comes from you speaking up is important. I think you have to be trying. Don't spend so much time trying to plan and try to strategize, because that's you spiritual bypassing. You just need to try something new. You literally just need to try something new. That's the only time that you're moving, is when you try something new. So you also got to let yourself be a beginner. Don't be afraid to fail. When you're trying something, you're not supposed to be perfect at that shit right off the rip. I wasn't perfect at this spiritual shit right off the rip. I got my motherfucking ass beat for 2.5 years in the spiritual realm. And then once it was done, my team was like, you needed that because you needed to live it under tension. Well, bitch, I wish you would have told me something, because I'm over here fighting for my fucking life for 2 years, but I needed to go through that, And so I've really entered this place in my journey now where I'm realizing that everything really has good, bad, the ugly, the scary, the terrifying, like all of that has been working out in my favor, because it's given me insight that I don't think I would have ever gotten, or if ever cared to gotten to, had I not had that experience for myself, And I think that when people come to me and they are having it, when they have attachments or when they have whatever, it's like I can understand it. I can smell it. I know what it smells like. I know what it looks like. I know what it feels like when it's on you. Like, it's like I am able to guide people a lot better because I lived it under pressure. Oh, I don't need to go through anything more this year. Been hell, but not anymore. Yeah, like I think these last 2 years, they wore me the fuck out. But I also think that I was changing and shifting so much because I'm always in a place of like self-reflection. I'm always in a place of wanting to be the best version of me, because I really, really enjoy myself a lot. And I think a lot of people be missing that. Like, I love being by myself. I love doing things for myself. I love doing things by myself. Like, my friends have to tell me, like, Tadra, why didn't you tell me you was going to this, girl? Because I didn't know you like that. You only listen to this, this, and this. If you would have told me you like that, then we could have been on that. But I go to Broadway shows. I go to dance, like ballets. I go to fucking opera. I be going to all kind of shit, Do you see depression or victimhood as an energetic insert or attachment? Sometimes I'll see victimhood. And it's specifically when people are like, they don't feel like they belong. Like, sometimes I see this on people who are like only children, right? And then they really, really want a sibling type of energy really, really bad. And so they end up being like the person who is like, hey, did you hear what I had to say? Like, nobody's listening to me. Nobody see, like, it's like that energy. Like, why didn't y'all invite me to this place? Like, I would have invited y'all. Like, why would y'all, like, it's like that that is an energy. Like that's an entity. You know, when you're fighting to belong and you're trying to get people and convince people to see you and to invite you and to consider you, like a lot of times that's an entity. Depression sometimes, um, but I don't think I've ever seen that in real life. I feel like it could happen. But I don't think I've ever seen that in my experience. But I have seen like people who are like grasping to belong, like that being an entity attached to them. When you get married, how do you venerate ancestors, both sides or your own? Well, you can't do nobody else's work for them. Your work is for you to do. And so you only need to be venerating your ancestors, not somebody else's ancestors. And you can't help people with their work because a lot of times they're on their own path. And so if you infringe upon by trying to do like work to create movement in a life and you haven't asked a spiritual team or you haven't done divination first, sometimes they team will fucking attack your ass because you crossing a boundary that wasn't meant for you to cross, you know? So I would be venerating your own ancestors, and other people's work is for them to do. You know, like that's if you're in that energy of trying to do your work and your husband's work, you're in a savior complex, which means you're leaking energy and you're eventually going to be depleted. I feel that I'll never let going by myself stop me from having a good time. Oh no, I be in the streets, honey, by myself or not. Do you have any knowledge on sleep paralysis? Yeah, I've done a lot of work on sleep paralysis. And so it's one or two things that could be happening. A lot of times sleep paralysis happens when you're exhausted, you know, when you are spiritually exhausted. And so what will happen is like you work a double shift or whatever, and you come home and you go to sleep and you end up in sleep paralysis, but it's because your physical body and your astral body do not have enough energy to separate. And so when they try to separate, you wake up in the process and your conscious mind is gone because your conscious mind leaves, they don't know where it goes. But when you're in your astral body, your subconscious mind is actually running things, and your subconscious mind directly is impacted by your amygdala, which is your fear center. And so a lot of times when people wake up and they can't move their body and they don't understand it, they go into this state of fear because it's easier for them to activate the amygdala. And then if you have any attachments or anything, you'll start to see them because of the fear that you're creating, you know? And so like sleep paralysis has a lot to do with you not getting enough rest, but it also has to do with your astral and physical body not having enough energy to separate, because whether you know it or not, every single night you travel into the astral plane. It's just I think some of us are blacked out right now because there's a lot of energetic work that's happening to help us to integrate. Sleepwalking is what happens when your system doesn't kick on, meaning like there's a system that kicks on to keep you from acting out your dreams in your sleep, right? When you sleepwalk, that system ain't kicking on. So you start to act that shit out. So yeah, bro, my amygdala is literally smaller than everyone else's because of BPD. Yeah, but I think BPD, I actually think a lot of those is, and this is just, I'm not a medical person. Let me say that. This is just my opinion of what I'm understanding, especially after reading this book, is I genuinely feel like that what people don't understand is that BPD and stuff comes from trauma. And trauma means that you fragmented. And there's something called walk-ins, meaning like when you fragment and you're not fully in your body, something else can come in. Kind of like what I was talking about, the merging, right? And so I honestly feel like people who have multiple personality disorder, people who have schizophrenia, people who have BPD, a lot of times it's because there's another energy that has attached itself to you in your fragmented state. And like sometimes when I look at y'all in spirit, some of y'all be looking like Swiss cheese. Like y'all got a whole bunch of holes and rips in y'all auric field. Not to diagnose you or anything, but one thing that I was doing last night though, once I read this book, because don't be scared, baby. Because whatever's part of your journey is part of your journey. And if you are afraid of yourself and what's part of your journey, you'll always be moving away and rejecting parts of you instead of integrating parts of you. And the goal is to integrate, right? Because that's how you get back to a place of wholeness. And so there's nothing to be afraid of. You don't need to be afraid of you, okay? Because this was always supposed to be a part of your journey, okay? But what I will say is, yesterday, when I learn stuff in books, what I like to do is apply it in real life. And so when they talk to me about the thing about like energies being able to merge with you and really they merge into your spinal column, um, what I did is I sat in meditation and I try to get it as dark as I possibly can, as silent as I possibly can. And I sit there and I'm not trying to do anything. I'm not trying to figure myself out. I'm not trying to become anything. I'm only trying to practice listening. Okay. So I do that for about 7 minutes, and it usually takes 7 minutes for your muscular system to relax. And then I start chanting. And what I start chanting is I unmerge with any energies that are not so authentic. I unmerge with any energies that are not so authentic. And I can't tell you how much energy was releasing at the base of my spine, how much energy was releasing at the small of my back, how much energy was releasing behind my neck and behind my heart space. And I just kept chanting that. I unmerge with any energies that are not so authentic. I unmerge with any energies that are not so authentic. And I actually did a lot of energy work and had a lot of progress with that. And so I think that when you're learning stuff, you got to understand the goal for you is always to integrate. Okay. You have to be practicing what you're learning. People who have BPD and all of that, that's a crown issue. That's an issue with your crown. Okay. And so what I would suggest every single day, you need to be grounding into earth, because earth is what helps you from fragmenting. Also, talk to the melanin in your body, because your melanin helps you from fragmenting. And so I talk to the melanin in my body and I tell the melanin in my body, please help me to stabilize and support any energy and any light that is meant for me to hold. Whatever has not been integrated, integrate it now. Right. I also, a lot of times back pain is a safety issue. You probably didn't have your financial, mental, physical needs met as a kid. But I always talk to the melanin in my body, but I also ground into earth. And so I close my eyes and I imagine myself underneath this big tree. And I breathe in really, really deep. And when I breathe out, I push a root from my root chakra, which is my tail. Like it's like almost like extending my tailbone down into the earth. And I push it all the way down until I get to the earth's core. And the earth's core looks like a sun to me. And so what I do is I push it down into earth's energy. And then I see that root go into that sun. And I kind of feel something like come back up my body too. It's like almost like electricity coming back up. And then I anchor myself into earth's energy and I'll talk to earth and I tell earth to help me to hold what I cannot hold. Like if there's any excess emotional energy that I need to expel, I ask earth to take it, because earth wants to hold you, but earth doesn't know what you need until you tell her. And that's a part of that is like taking your menses and giving it back to earth, putting it in the plants and stuff. Earth is going to then know what you need. And so she could help you with some of that emotional alchemization. Also sitting in water, doing spiritual baths is a really great help with that as well. Because water helps you to discharge excess emotion. So sometimes I'll get in a bath and I'll like breathe in this light from above and I'll push it all the way through my body and I'll see it pushing like black stuff down and through the drain. I'll do that, or take a spiritual bath with black walnut, wormwood, and clove. I sit in stillness every single day. You need to sit in stillness, but if you can do it in the dark, meaning like get in your closet, get it as dark as you possibly can, 10 minutes a day, it helps you to get back into your body, because it changes the perception of your nervous system. Your nervous system changes into a rest and a healing state. So it allows your body time to integrate, and so the thing about it is it's so simple. It's the simple shit, but it's hard because we don't know how to sit still. Right? You got to sit in stillness. You got to anchor into earth every single day. All of those things is what I would recommend. Take spiritual baths, get in the water as much as you possibly can, because you don't realize you are a water being. You came through water. You came by water. You are 90% water. The water is a feedback mirror. Whatever intention you speak into water is what water becomes. And so water also will help you to discharge your water in your body that needs to be discharged. Standing on the ground outside, there are little minor chakras in your feet that help to push excess emotional energy into the ground. And a lot of your emotional energy is stored in your solar plexus, which is the most easily misaligned of all the chakras and the most important, because it's what you need to get through to get to the higher levels of consciousness. And so it's held in your solar plexus, which is your willpower center, your mind, your stomach. So if you got stomach issues, it's you not able to process life issues. And then it's kept in your heart space as well. So that's what I would be focusing on, especially if you got something like BPD or something like that. You need to get anchored back into Earth's energy, because you're too far into the spiritual realm, which is infinite possibilities and where other energies can kind of reach you. You need to get back in Earth. Um, this live came to me just in a moment. I needed to hear and implement this in my journey. Oh, you're welcome, baby. Um, so yeah, this is so helpful. You're welcome. Premenstrual dysmorphia disorder and also ADHD related trauma. Okay. Is this info about melanin and pain in your spiritual anatomy course? I don't actually know if I talked about melanin in my spiritual anatomy course because I really was trying to focus on the organs as internal alchemy centers, but let me just look at the course real quick. Your skin receives solar light codes directed through melanin, water, and mineral. That's the only thing that I say about it. Is that, but I think I actually did a video on here talking about the difference between melanin and adrenaline because those two energies work together. But I think the only other time I talked about it was in the Atlantis series that I did a year ago. Um, hold on. Because I had to talk about the grids of Earth and stuff like that. And we don't realize that melanin is what connects you to Earth's energy because melanin is Earth's energy. And that's why every single being in existence on Earth has melanin in their skin. It's just a matter of how much melanin you have. Um, and so I think the only time I talked about it was when I did that post about the difference between melanin and adrenaline. Um, if you want me to talk about it a little bit here, I can. Hold on, let me just find my notes real quick. Okay. Hold on, let me see what everybody else is saying though. Gee, I'm learning so much. Thank you. Would you advise the same practices for bipolar? Yeah, I think that's what. Oh no, ain't BPD bipolar disorder? Or did I get that wrong? Hey, Tanya. If you have PMDD and ADHD, what do you suggest? Also, earth grounding. Well, my thing with ADHD is that ADHD is a signal that you are ungrounded. It's a byproduct of you being ungrounded. It's something you actually can learn in human design. And the opposite energy that helps to ground that is the energy of stillness, right? And so, anytime that you feel scattered like that, especially if you're like a projector, manifester, or a reflector, you don't have your own life force energy. And so if you don't go to sleep before you get tired, you wake up with ADHD symptoms because you're ungrounded. And so ADHD, absolutely. Also, I would suggest saffron. Um, this is the brand that I use. It's called Divine Healing Saffron. But saffron helps with focus. It helps with anybody who has ADHD or autism ADHD. And you take just a couple, 1, 2, or 3 of these strands and put it in your water, and it ends up looking like this. But on Mondays, when I'm feeling moody, I just drink some saffron. That has helped me tremendously. And so that's what I would do for that. For the menstrual thing, anything that has to do with menstruation has to do with your womb. And so we don't realize that we inherit the trauma from the women that came before us through our womb because our womb is our water. And so a lot of ancestral things are tied directly into your womb. And so if you have periods that hurt and stuff like that, it has to do with what the women in your family carried before you got here. And so that has to be alchemized. And so you need womb healing with anything that has to do with the womb. And that'll actually strengthen your psychic gifts as well, because a lot of us read from our womb. Yeah, that's probably what. Well, a lot of things were told to you to disembody you for sure. But the fight has always been between people who remember naturally, which is people who have melanin because they're directly connected to Earth, meaning like Earth remembers. So that means your body remembers. And so if you stay connected to your body, you will remember, especially if you have a lot of melanin. People who lack melanin, meaning like they don't produce as much melanin, are more than likely star beings. And so we're both. We're both star and Earth, but people with more melanin are more Earth. People with less melanin are more star. And so when you are more melanin, you have to stay in your body. And most of us don't want to stay in our body because our body perceives through the sensations, through tingling, through feelings, through all of that. And this entire society has told you that you feeling is makes you weak, or is you being sensitive or whatever it is, when that's literally what keeps you embodied. But the whole society, science, everything, science was created to keep you away from the truth. Everything that was created in the West was created to keep you away from the truth, because if you knew the motherfucking truth, you wouldn't need a government. I'm healing and transmuting my trauma. My adult children refuse to do the work. It's not your job to get them to do the work, honey. Everybody's on their own journey. Your job is for you to do the work. And when you do your own work, you clear space for them to be able to do their work, because whether you know it or not, you live on through them. Okay. And so whatever, it's like y'all connected to this iCloud. And like when there's trauma, the iCloud has a virus. Okay. When you do your work and you clean up your shit, you clean it up for everybody. And now they have more space to be different. But it's not your job to fix them, even though it feels like it, because they're your children. It's your job to do your work, because again, when you're trying to fix other people, you don't have your eyes on your own shit. You don't need to take people with you. You need to go first. A lot of people are committed to distortion because they haven't seen nothing different. And so get them something deep. Oh, borderline personality disorder is BPD. Okay, got you. Same thing though. Like all of those fall into this category of mental disorders. And so all of it needs you to be grounded into earth. Where regulating emotions is difficult and suffering from manic. Yeah. And so earth is what holds you. Like earth is literally what holds your water, and so you need to get back anchored into earth. I'm a projector. Okay, I'm a boss. Okay, thank you. You're welcome, love. Sorry, it's a lot of things coming at me at one time. Is that still true if we have a hysterectomy and no more uterus, but still ovaries? Yeah, because your wombs still exist on an energetic level. And you actually have 3 wombs. You don't just have one. But yeah, it still exists on a energetic level. And like I said, we heal the past in the present moment. You already are a star. How would you recommend someone wanting to get downloads from the Akashic records? To be honest, like some of us are locked down. And so you have to reach a specific frequency and be able to maintain that frequency to get into the Akashic records, because the Akashic records are on the 5th or 6th plane. And so you have to raise your vibration. I would fast, and then keep setting the intention that that's where you want to go. And that's where you want to visit. And it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it'll take you months, but you got to stay devoted to that intention. The more you focus your attention in one direction. I don't know why they keep, like, I'm not even saying nothing in this live, but every 5 seconds they keep saying they're not recommending my live because I'm ineligible for whatever the fuck. Leave me the fuck alone. Anyways, I had to learn the hard way with my mom the same way. Got you. Yeah, I feel like it'd be people who intentionally be reporting my lives, but girl, that's what I mean when I started this live out about people being in competition with me and people being weird. But I digress. Had a dream where I had access to mines and I had to use the bathroom, so I missed it. Oh yeah, and see, that'll happen too. Like when I went to go see my star guides, I seen like a house and they was having like a house party, and I was like, "Oh, we should go." And she's like, "You sure you want to go?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then she kicked me the fuck out. So you got to be careful with them distractions, because that sometimes that's a way for them to get you the fuck up out of there. So remember to like the live, y'all. I push it to live on the For You page. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But yeah, like I just wanted to hop on today. I didn't really even talk about some of the stuff that I channel, because now I feel like the whole thing about like Saturn being an android and like the fight being between the androids, it's like I don't necessarily know if I believe that anymore. Like I'm getting so much conflicting information, because I got a lot of energies trying to work with me. And so I set some boundaries around who can talk to me and who can't talk to me and stuff like that. And so I just think that I need to clear some of this up, but I'm still going to give to y'all the channel messages that I'm getting, just because my whole goal, okay, they approved my appeal. Like, anyways, my whole goal is to get us as close to the truth as possible. I don't give a fuck how we get there. I think like a lot of these things are possibilities, but so many of us are too afraid of getting it wrong that we just won't say anything. We'll get an inclination about something and then we see it come true and we like, oh, I knew that. And it's like, yeah, but you should have said something when you was doing it. So that's what I'm trying to do with these lives, is just speak up more about what I'm getting. So I think I'll probably only be on here for probably like another 15 minutes, but I want to we haven't talked about this in a minute. So hold on, wait. All right, we talked about this part though. So let me see where we left off at. Appreciate your message. So many of us working on this and the direction helps. Yeah, because it's like we need to put our heads together. That's what I feel like. I feel like we need to put our fucking heads together and we just need to start sharing information. You know? Oh, good. Oh, okay, I got you. I'm glad I showed up on your For You page as well. Like, I think they've been pushing my content again, which they be trying to hide me from the world, child. Hey, Chloe, how you in, girl? And so I just been trying to show up more consistently and just because I honestly would rather go live than to make content because I feel like I can express myself fully. And like with content, I got about 10 minutes and I'm a little long winded. Like sometimes I'll be having some shit to say and it take me longer than 10 minutes to say that shit. So I prefer to come on live, but I think in the first part of this year, I just need to get myself together and make sure my protections were up and things like that, just because the world we live in is just full of people addicted to distortion. Wish the collective could do a global meditation. That would be so beautiful. Yeah, it would, because we so much more powerful when we together. You're welcome, love. We so much more powerful when we together. So we talked a little bit about, wait, where did we, I don't know if I can share because I don't think I got all the information about this. Because remember, I was telling you that they was talking to me about like the sister signs, and they was talking to me about Cancer and Capricorn, and they are how we develop our sense of safety or whatever. And so they was going through the different zodiac signs, but they was telling me that we only have 3 planets. We don't have 7, right? And that Mars energy is the energy of Earth when Earth is going through a death cycle. Jupiter energy is the energy of Earth when Earth is going through like a birth cycle. Mercury is the energy of Earth when Earth is going through the threshold, right? Which is the messenger energy. Oh, thank you, Chloe. And so like they were saying, like some of the things that we consider to be planets are kind of like minor chakras, like how we have full chakras and then we have little minor ones. Like some of the ones that we think are big chakras are actually a part of the whole. And so like it's so hard for me to explain this to y'all without a visual. And so let me just try to give y'all a visual real quick. Okay. Wait, where did the okay. So let's say, and I'm not the best drawer. I don't want to hear it. Okay. I do not know how to draw people. We know this. It is what it is. And so say there's a chakra here. Oh, damn. I should have pulled Buddy down. Hold on one second. And so we just going to do a head. We're going to do a neck. And then we just going to do a body like this. Boom. All right. You got a chakra here. Third eye. Throat. Heart. Yeah. All right. So these are the main 7 chakras, right? You got your crown, you got your third eye, you got your throat, right? These are all one chakra. And it's the third eye chakra, which is Neptune. Because they said Neptune is the spiritual world. Neptune is what we consider to be Polaris, right? And so this is Neptune. These are your spiritual chakras, is the top 3, right? And so the main chakra is this one in the center, but you know how every energy has a positive and negative charge? Like these are the positive and negative charges, right? And then it's this one in the center. Same thing with these 3. These are all the same chakra, which is the sacral. Okay. Those are all the same. That's the sacral. These three. And so the solar plexus and the root are both masculine. The sacral is feminine. And so this is the masculine. Wait, hold on. Yeah, masculine. No, because this is earth. Just kidding. So this is feminine. My bad. This up here is masculine. Because this is Mercury. This is Neptune. This is I don't know why I want to say that this is Jupiter, but I'm not 100% sure because I was under the impression that this was Saturn, but they saying Saturn is not a real planet. So I don't know because in the book, by the Pleiadian book, it says Saturn is a planet, but then the Pleiadians was telling me that Saturn is an android. So I don't know. But what I keep getting is that these three are one chakra. These three at the bottom are one chakra, and then we have this one in the middle, which is the heart space. Okay. And so this one down here really is just Venus. Wait, then that don't make sense though. I don't know, but what they telling me is that these three top chakras are one chakra, these three bottoms are one chakra, and then we have the chakra in the middle, right? And they keep breaking everything down into 1, 2, or 3 for me. And I'm still working out the information because I was like, okay, well, if there's only 3 planets, then because they was telling me like we live in a realm of separation, and so we separate everything, right? You remember when I was talking to y'all about the 3, 6, and 9, and how 3, 6, and 9 are really the only numbers that exist. But 1, 2, and 1 and 2, when you separate 3, it becomes 1, 2, and 3. When you separate 6, it becomes 4, 5, and then 6 is what 4 or 5 look like together, like, and so on and so forth. And so they said that there was only 9 zodiac signs. There's only 3 planets and only 9 zodiac signs. And I was like, okay, well, that seems that makes sense for the whole what we doing, but at the same time, then the book confused me towards the end because they was talking about how the 12 zodiacs were supposed to represent the 12 strands of DNA, and that once we come into more knowledge, we'll understand that we can heal ourselves and do everything through like astrology and like understanding astrology, because astrology is not what we understand astrology to be, which is, I know that because I've studied astrology in Chaldean astrology. Like I've studied so many different things, and so I'm still trying to figure it out, but they was giving me a message about it in here, and they was basically saying like Aries, Libra, Taurus, and Scorpio are all Venus, and that Sagittarius, Cancer, Capricorn, Virgo, and Pisces are all Neptune. And then I was like, okay, well then I don't know. It's still confusing to me. Is what I'm saying. I'm still working it out. Is what I'm saying. And so they was kind of talking about how like we have 12 strands of DNA, which connect us to the 12 different living libraries that are on Earth. And that some of that 12 strand of DNA has been suppressed because of the work the Pleiadians did on us a long time ago. No, because Mercury they was telling me Mercury is not a planet. It's an energy that Earth embodies. Like Earth has 3 energies: Mars, Jupiter, and Mercury. Mars is the lower energy. Mercury is when you're going through a threshold. So kind of like the heart space is the place where these 2 energies come together. Mercury is like the place where these 2 energies come together. And then the higher energy is Jupiter. And so Mars, Mercury, and Jupiter are Earth's energy in her different cycles, if that makes sense. And so they're saying like those are not planets. Those are Earth's energy. And when they say that they want to keep us in Mars energy, they want to keep us in the lower side of Earth's energy, which would kind of be like right brain, whereas Jupiter would be like left brain. And then Mercury is what happens when you're going through the middle, And so Earth's higher self will be Venus. Venus' higher self will be Neptune. And so it's only those 3 planets is Earth, Neptune, and Venus, if that makes sense. And so I was trying to figure out where Sagittarius fits into this because I didn't see Sagittarius in this, but they was too busy talking to me about how Aquarius and Capricorn are the cycle breakers. And that's why they can't let Aquarius and Capricorn know that they're ruled by Neptune, because they're the ones who break the cycles. Capricorn, you can never trick a Capricorn internally, because Capricorn has its own discernment and its own way of seeing things. And so Capricorn sees through the illusion of like what they try to place on your being or your body or yourself, whereas Aquarius sees it on a collective level, you know? And so like they got to talk to me about that. And I just kind of got lost in the sauce because they was giving me so much information at one time. And so I kind of want to go back through this. But they also talked to me about like the animal kingdom, the elemental kingdom, the ancients, the timekeepers, like all of them coming back into this reality where we'll be able to see the Mayans again. We'll be able to see we'll be able to talk to the animal kingdom. So also too, like how we seeing all these people who do animal communication, including myself, is because that is a way to help Earth grow and evolve, because we used to be connected to all the animals, all the plants. Like we could literally psychically talk to anything. And so us seeing all these animal psychics come back to the forefront is a signal that Earth really is growing and evolving in the direction that she should, you know? But yeah, they was walking me through so many things when it came to, like they said, Neptune is the North Star, what we call Polaris. The moon is distorting the light from Neptune so that women shift like the tides. It interrupts our rhythm, and women are not ruled by the moon. They are ruled by Venus. Third eye is Neptune. And so we are meant to be still, but the moon disrupts that. So stillness is mandatory because it's how we stabilize ourselves. And then they talked about self-worth is the knowledge of your divinity. And so they were saying you having self-worth is important because self-worth is you acknowledging your own divinity. And so Earth is the eternal and Neptune is the infinite. Eternal means it exists outside of time, so it's something ancient. And infinite means it's limitless in quantity, extent, or space. And so they was trying to tell me that the fear that we have on Earth is useless because Earth can't be destroyed, neither can we. Because energy can only be transformed. It can't be destroyed or created, right? And so they saying that Earth is eternal, meaning Earth can't be destroyed. You know? Wait, I'm confused. Did you see the TikTok of the lady who communicates with animals and the cat said it used to be a truck? Oh, no, I didn't see that, but I'm not surprised though, because I just started doing animal readings and the motherfucking cats are seventh dimensional beings. Okay. A lot of times the gods will use them and goddess energy will use them to view us through the motherfucking cats. And so sometimes you have a celestial being in your motherfucking house and you don't even realize it. But the cats, they know too motherfucking much. I just did a video about a session I had with a cat, and they was talking to me about the fear of death and that we spend too much time trying to stop death from happening instead of actually living. And I was like, that's tea. You have to eat it. They said humans are so clingy. I said, oh, hold on now, not humans. I did not know we was beefing. But I could see that though, because we have been every single level of consciousness. You don't just become a human. Becoming a human is a very, very advanced incarnation. You know, you have to go. So if you ever seen the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, like that is a true thing. You don't just pop up as a motherfucking human. No, your soul has to advance through every single dimension. You have to go through the first dimension. You have to go through the second dimension, which is cartoon. Like there's a dimension that looks like cartoons. Like if y'all ever seen Inside Out, where they step into that place and they turn into the cartoon thing, like that's a real thing. Cartoons, the way that we look at cartoons, there's a dimension that is 2D like that, you know? And so like you got to go through the steps because we have to evolve and grow as consciousness. This is just the level that we're at right now, but eventually we'll be at a further level. But some of us have done this over and over again. Some of us are very ancient, like myself. And so we've done this over and over again. I've actually lived this specific life before as this version in this life. I have lived it before. And you also got to understand too, that memory don't work in a way we think that memory work. We think memory is inside of the body, but it's not. Memory can be touched on the outside too. And that's why so many people feel like, oh, I used to be in ancient Egypt. I have the memory of ancient Egypt. No, you don't. Not everybody has the memory of ancient Egypt as it being a life they lived. Sometimes you just touch the memory field and we kind of share memory in a way because Earth is a living library, which means everybody's memory from every single galaxy is here on Earth. And that's why Earth is so important. you know, but we've just kind of been hidden from the world. Like they can't even sense our energy on earth because we kind of like in a fold or whatever. So it's hard for them to get here sometimes. But they can sense our spiritual light. When we come on spiritually, they can sense us though. Islam also said that. Oh, said what? The thing about the cats. Yes, I love her reading. I love these types of topics. Me too. I thought Earth was a demiurge. I keep hearing that damn word. Ain't that like a hold on. A demiurge. A divine artisan or craftsman responsible for fashioning and ordering the physical world. Meaning public work or art. The term appears in two contexts. A demiurge is a benevolent, subordinate deity who shapes chaotic, pre-existing matter into an orderly cosmos based on eternal, perfect form. Gnostic traditions often portray the demiurge as a less ignorant or malevolent deity. Oh, I do think that Earth has a body. Like, I do think that we are a part of a being. I think we exist in the heart space of a being, and that's why Earth and heart are synonymous with each other, or not acronyms, but fuck. Is it? No, I don't think it's an acronym. It's a what is it like where you could take the letter and change it and it makes another word? So if you take the heart, the H off of heart and put it on the end, you get earth. If you take the H off of earth and put it on the front, you get heart. Antonym or whatever. I can't wait to get a cat reading. Hold on. I lost. Yeah, I do have a cat. She gets an attitude with me all the time. Y'all remember that cat in Caroline? Okay, I laughed when the cat was getting back the humans at night. Yeah, that shit was funny as fuck. That had me cracking up because I really feel like my cat has a vengeful spirit, meaning like she don't like being told what to do. Anytime I tell her what to do, she'll do that. She'll do the exact fucking opposite, which really is probably my karma because I'm the same way. So I can't even be mad at sis. I can't even be mad at her, but at the same time, sister, stop doing what you're doing. Can I ask what the Zodiac book you're talking about is? The Zodiac book, like Zodiac Academy, it's a fantasy book. But it's a 9-book series. Oh, no. Oh, if you're talking about these Zodiacs, this is my channel messages. So this is not a book. This is just me writing down some of the messages that I'm getting. And I'm still trying to figure them out, but I'm still going to give them to y'all as I'm figuring it out as a theory so that once we develop it, and once it becomes clear, we can, like, you get to be a part of the process, because I think that that's how all my wisdom happens. It's like I get a piece of information and it's so fucking confusing and I don't understand it. But over the next 3 to 6 months, it starts illuminating itself to me. And so I kind of want to like demonstrate that on live, just because I think people be feeling like they need to know the answer right now. And that's just not how spirit works. It's just like, note the shit in the back of your head, because eventually it might come back up, you know? I'm a 9 life path. Oh, okay. I don't want to come back here. You cannot speak like that, love, because what you got to understand is, one, you're in a position that everybody has fought to be in. Okay. You just don't understand what in who you are. Okay. But when you say that you don't want to be here, that is you not being able to see the beauty in life. And when you can't see the beauty in life, you can't see the beauty in yourself. Okay. And so it's going to be really hard for you to connect to things, to grow and evolve, and to actually enjoy this experience if you're too busy worrying about not wanting to be here. You got to accept where you are, because whether you want to be here or not, this is what's happening. You know, if you don't, at the very minimum, accept that, you enter into the state of self-loathing, self-hate, because if you hate this experience, you also hate yourself, because you are who created this experience. You know, so you got to be careful with what you say and what you speak over yourself. I just moved to a new home and there are 7 cats that showed up. I feel safe with them around, period. So what's your view on deja vu? Some of us can, in our dreams, see different timelines. We can move through different timelines. And so sometimes you have chosen a timeline, and deja vu is you recognizing that you chose something that's coming to your view, because deja just means to see again. Deja vu just means to see it again, which means you saw it initially. Oh, to think about the cats and the animals. Okay, gotcha. Oh, period. This live is on forwarded by Glad. Oh, damn it. Um, damn it. I'm sorry. I lost where I was, y'all. Anagram. Thank you. Kind of off topic, but do you think being materialistic or liking the finer things in life is bad? No. No. But I do think hoarding things is bad. Buying things in bulk just because you have this fear of loss. I do think that the energy that you do it out of is important. I do think that us as a collective, though, we're going to be moving away from materialism. But no, I think that you deserve luxury and all of that. You deserve to adorn yourself and smell good, look good, or whatever. You're just not supposed to hoard things. Same, hate being told what to do, which is why I struggle with jobs. Me too. What is your thought on deja vu? Okay. Yes, love this download. My downloads be confusing and fuck mine's too. But I also have realized that when I speak them out loud and when I talk about them and when I just bring them into conscious awareness with other people, I think that we don't understand how connected we are. Just me telling you this is gonna make your team start working and their team start working and everybody's team start working. And so a bandwidth of awareness is available to us all because of that. And so I just like to share it, even when it's in a confusing state, and just say, okay, this is where I am with it. We're going to eventually get back to it. And I found that when I do that, the answers always find me. You know, this was a hard pill for me to swallow, but I had to swallow it for sure. Yeah. Deja vu has been something negative and then I change it so it's not. Yeah, deja vu isn't a negative thing. It's literally proof that you are the creator of this reality because you've seen it again because you selected it and now it's happening. And so when I have deja vu, to me, it means I'm on the right path. And I will realize, because you got to realize that the universe speaks in synchronicities. And so anytime you have these coincidental synchronicity events, it's really showing you that you've entered into flow with the universe. Have you ever heard about the theory that the moon we see in the sky isn't real? Yeah, I think um, one of them is a mirror because there's two different moons that I see in the sky, but one of them is a mirror. Really, it's a computer that can be programmed, and the programming changes based off of who owns the moon, which is just a whole nother thing, girl. But yes, life was given in abundance. We're meant to have it all, not hoard it all. Yeah, and it's our attachment to things and trying to possess things that cause issues, you know. Can you touch base on free will? Do we have it? Yeah, we all have free will. We live in a free will zone. And so like kind of like what's playing out on earth is free will, and that's why we can't get interference until we all agree that that's what we want. And on the timeline that I'm on or we're on, a lot of us have decided to get help, you know. And so free will is something that we have, and it basically means that you get to choose, right? But the thing about it is the reason why we feel like we don't have free will is because we're all collectively agreeing that the way that life is right now is normal. And we're still feeding into the systems that are trying to infringe upon our free will through laws and doctrines and things like that. So we really do have to all unplug. But, you know, not all of us want to do that because the system provides us some sense of safety. How does metaphysics and spirituality connect? Oh, well, because metaphysics is the study of spirituality. All science is the study of spirituality. There is nothing but spirituality because spirituality or spirit just means frequency, right? And so everything exists as a frequency of information. And so everything that we've been studying this whole time has been spirituality, just different facets of spirituality. Like mathematics is the communication of the universe. It's how the universe communicates with us, which is also the same as numerology. And there's multiple ways to look at math. The way that we've been taught math is one way, but there is a multitude of different ways, you know. Same with all of our sciences. We like to try to land on one truth because if you can organize people around a truth, you can control that group of people. But there's multiple truths that are playing out at one time. Do we know what 5D looks like? My loved ones aren't awake and ready yet to move forward. Yeah. So over these last 20 years, Some of us can move between the 3D, 4D, and 5D. Some of us can move a little bit higher too, depending on what our journey has been. And also too, if you've had like a near-death experience or anything like that, you entered into the spiritual realm, like you died and you came back, you have a lot more access than most people. And so, yeah, but just remember that it's not your job to bring your family with you. That's probably the hardest part of the journey, is recognizing that you're going to have to um, probably leave some people behind. I think it's very disappointing for me as well. But what you can do to help them is hyper focus on your journey and getting yourself to a place and a version of yourself you want to be, because what you embody, your presence will start to affect the people around you, and specifically people within your family. It creates a vacuum behind you. And just by you being around them, you start to pull them up. And you also create space in like the collective drive that y'all have for them to be different when you have cleared out your own generational trauma and stuff. So I got 2 more people that helped me with my downloads. Oh, I love that. What does it mean when everybody's aura? Oh, what does it mean when everybody's aura in my dream is gray? I think I talked about, hold on. I think I talked about, I did like a spiritual intelligence class, and I talked about the colors of auras and what they mean. That is on YouTube. But it's in that spiritual intelligence 101 playlist, and it's the one about auras. I'll talk about the different colors of auras and what they mean in the different layers of auras. I can't remember, because my mind is only as big as it's supposed to be. But let me see if I can, because there was a document I was working with, and I think I put it on there. You might have to go to my YouTube to get the answer to that. But yeah. But gray usually means that they disconnected in some way. Bro, let me find out someone owns the moon. Like, why? Because the moon actually can be programmed, and it helps us with evolution in a way. And so, like, the reason why we have a period every month is because the moon was programmed with like a breeding system, right? And so it was affecting us because it affects our waters, which means that we 90% water. It affects all of us, men and women. And so it could be like programmed and reprogrammed to try to help us with evolution. But sometimes, because there's whole civilizations on the backside of the moon. And so sometimes the wrong people get their hands on shit, you know? And so needed this live. Thank you. You're welcome. Dreams can be manipulated for energy harvesting. Yeah, because sometimes you can be pulled into, because what happens when you dream is that your astral body comes out of your physical body and it travels along the ley lines of Earth. And sometimes they can set up like these little traps on those ley lines that'll pull your consciousness into a dream. And so be careful when somebody trying to get you to sign shit in dreams, when people are trying to hook shit into your belly button in dreams, when people are trying to get you to say their name. If you can't see something and something keeps telling you, say my name, and they repeat it, don't say the motherfucking name, you know? But yeah, it can be manipulated for sure, but specifically dreams of fear, you know, like, and so it's important that you understand that a lot of the dreams that we have that are kind of like considered nightmares, it's like the shit that we don't want to deal with in the waking world. So it's important in your dream that you turn around and face the thing. Don't keep running. I ran for a long time and I was getting shot in the head. I was getting all kind of shit done to me. The moment that I turned the fuck around and faced it, the shit was over. I never had a dream like that again. And so you got to stop running in the dreams. Yes, too. And my boyfriend listened to try to understand. I haven't had dreams in a long time. Like, I don't know. I've never remember why I stopped smoking. That's why I stopped smoking and drinking. Yeah, just take some time to stop smoking and drinking and see if it comes back. But I think some of us are not dreaming because there's a lot of energies that are working on us while we're asleep to get us upgraded for the energy that Earth is taking on. And don't talk about the time, right? Oh yeah, no. I thought great, typically nice, sick mentally or physically for possible attachments. Thought great, typically nice, sick mentally or physically for possible attachments. I don't know what that means. Hey Red, it's been a while since I've been in your live. Hey love, welcome. Hey Rowdy. And I be so lined with the moon, my period. Yeah, because it especially has a effect on women and their bodies. I'm paying 5 grand to the first 5 people to message me. Good God. Okay. No more scammers. Don't be trying to come up in my shit scamming people. Fuck be wrong with y'all. Um, anyways. Yeah, or like ask them like the time or like the date or whatever. Um, because it ends up kicking you out. I've never tried it just because um I haven't felt the need to do that. But yeah, my dreams come and go too. Like I don't always dream. My dreams became more and more vivid the more time I spent in nature and grounding. Yeah, I don't know about y'all, but dreams been off the chain lately and coming true. I love that. Why do I keep having this dream about my ex? Either because you won't let him go, or you or her go, or whatever you into, or they won't let you go. I had a feeling he was scamming. Child, I can't stand when they get in here about on that. How do you become conscious in your dreams? So you got to start it in your day, right? So you need like to do reality checks while you're awake. And it could be as simple as you looking down at your hands and you just counting your fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you do that multiple times throughout your day. And when you do that, what'll happen is because you did, because the dream realm and the your dreams are meant to help you to deal with whatever you obsess with in your day-to-day life. And so reality checks are like a way for you to be obsessed about something intentionally so that it's your clue that you're dreaming. Okay. Because when you actually in a dream, something is always off, like your phone screen is stuck, or you got 6 fingers instead of 4, or like the clock, like you're trying to influence something but it's not working, right? And so when you do reality checks like multiple times a day, you need to stop and count your fingers. What'll happen is when you're dreaming, you'll automatically do that because you're used to doing that, right? But when you count it in your dreams, you might have 4 fingers, you might have 6 fingers, and then it's like, oh, I'm dreaming. So that's a really great way. I also say prepare your bedroom before you go to sleep. Like set the mood, put on a candle, set your intention, whatever you want to do. You also can write a petition and put it underneath your pillow and sleep with it underneath your pillow. You can also sleep with amethyst or labradorite underneath your pillow. You can take mugwort's tea, but be careful. You don't want to take mugworts every single day. But you can drink mugwort's tea or blue lotus tea or something like that. That can kind of help you to get into a dreaming state. But you need to be doing reality checks. I also did like a 2-part series on astral projection and lucid dreaming. Actually, lucid dreaming was a 2-part series. Astral projection was a 2-part series. That's a part of season 1 of my podcast. If y'all haven't watched that, I would highly suggest, because I went through a lot of stuff about that then. How about, oh, hold on. I had about 4 intimate dreams with a close friend, but in real life, don't do those things. Why is that? It could be your subconscious, or it could be their subconscious, or you could have an attachment. My YouTube is BIGTAJJ. Season 1, I'm heading to YouTube after knowing I got to get outside and meditate. Yes, you do got to meditate, and you got to ground, baby. Ground like your life depends on it in these next couple of years, okay? Because we are being hit with so much fucking energy. And if you are not used to integrating energy, you're going to get overwhelmed. You're going to get exhausted. You're going to feel burnt out, and you're not going to understand why. And so you need to ground like your life depends on it. Can I DM you about a dream I had the other day to get your take on it? You can. Yep. All right, y'all. I've been on here for about 2 hours and 30 minutes. So I'm actually about to step off of here. Because I'm just going through a cycle right now. I'm actually on my cycle right now. And so I need to go tend to myself. But I love y'all. This will be on YouTube as soon as I get off. Y'all can go to YouTube and rewatch it back if y'all need to. But besides that, have an amazing rest of y'all day. I will probably be on tomorrow. But we will see. Okay. All right. Thank y'all. Have a good day. Okay.